Cars are rolling off of pit road. The starting grid will scroll across the top of your screen. And while that is taking place, we have the opportunity to talk to the driver starting 15th today. That's Matt Tifft in the 19.
Hey, Matt, it's Jeff Burton in the NBCSN booth. You with us?
Yeah, man, I got you.
Well, Matt, we're coming back to your racetrack where you've had your career best finish, but you had some very unique situations today. Tell us what you can expect from the racetrack.
Yeah, it's definitely a whole lot hotter today than we've raced in the past. You know, the two races have been here before. It's been nighttime, been cool, and you know, every year we spin a different track surface. So it's going to be interesting today to see how it plays out. I think track position is going to be key. But you know, just being able to stay on the bottom on the yellow line is going to be pretty important. So hopefully we get our surface FNX Camry up to the front. Go have a good run today.
Well, Matt, you mentioned staying on the bottom. Do you think there's any opportunity the top crew is going to come in with the work they did last night on the racetrack?
Yeah, actually, it seems like as we're going around right now, that it looks a little bit wider. So I think it'll come in. It seemed like it came in a little bit last year. So, you know, I know they worked hard all night on that. So I think once we get in some of these long runs where our tires are falling off, we'll have a chance to move up there and try to make some moves up on the top side as well.
Well, Matt, thank you and your team for sharing some time with us. Good luck today.
Thank you.
A little different perspective for these drivers because this race was supposed to be run last night because of the inclement weather, the rain and the lightning in the area. They postponed this race until now, and so we have a different perspective. The sun is out, is our aerial coverage provided by our partners at Smithfield Foods. And let's go trackside to Dave Burns.
And Rick, thinking about today, a double-header NASCAR weekend now at the Kentucky Motor Speedway. Perfect for guys like Kyle Busch. He doesn't have a golf game. He loves to race. When he wants to do something, he races. So having both races today, perfect for him. It's the driver's workout, right? And he's on the pole for both races. The 87-time winner looks for, in the Xfinity Series, looks for number 88 today, Marty.
Well, Dave, when the Xfinity Series was last year at Kentucky, the man who won the race, Elliott Sadler. But yesterday in practice, they had a slew of problems with the #1 car. In fact, he only got 17 total laps. They broke a track bar mount on that one car. And at most, they got consecutive laps, 5. I asked Elliott Sadler what to expect today. He said, honestly, I have no idea what to expect. We never got a long run with this car, and we have totally different conditions than I expected. So a lot of question marks for the championship leader, Kelly.
Marty, Brennan Poole comes to the Bluegrass State off a season-best finish and a whole lot of momentum on his side. He told me being able to run up front and come away with a 7th-place finish at Daytona was a huge confidence booster. Last week, he picked up his first career pole. Today, he goes for that first victory. He starts 7th. Rutledge Wood.
Kelly, we heard Matt Tifft talk about the track and how it's changed with the rubber. It's all because of the tire dragon right here behind us. This thing hit the track at 4 a.m. this morning. You see, I caught him in a tire change here, but they've gone through 4 sets of tires so far today, adding that rubber as the tires are spinning back through the tractor's going forward. But we're going to see, guys, they moved up about 1 more groove. Hopefully that pays off today for the drivers.
And that was the tire dragon we got to look at there, that they were putting the rubber down on the racetrack, trying to go an extra groove. As we look at the race analysis, 200 laps, 300 miles the distance.
Yeah, Rick, and you see the stages, 45 laps for both the first and the second stage. The final stage is a little bit longer, but that fuel window is really the key. It's 56 to 62 laps. These drivers will be able to run easily an entire stage 1 or an entire stage 2 on 1 tank of fuel, but with a competition yellow at lap 20, I think we're going to see strategy come into play very quickly. What's more important, fresh tires or track position?
And we were just listening in to William Byron and that 9 team. Let's let you hear what they had to say.
Have a good day, guys. We got a fast race car. Keep mistakes to a minimum. We'll be there at the end, so thank you.
Have a good plan for today. Let's go out and execute it. Get a good finish out of this, guys. Thank you.
It's always good to have a little conversation before the race starts, Steve, just to remind everybody, refocus. This race was supposed to already been done last night. Sometimes you get in the car unexpectedly on a Saturday morning, you're not quite as focused. So just having that conversation gets everybody lined up with what the team's goals are for today.
And I think now the track conditions, the weather, the change of the start time, they really turn into just good excuses for a race team. The conditions are the same for everyone. So at this point, it comes down to mental toughness. Can you mentally get focused, get prepared for what's ahead?
And again, one of the biggest storylines starting fifth today. The 19-year-old from Charlotte, North Carolina, seeking to become the first ever driver to win his first 3 races consecutively. William Byron going for that record. Green flags in the air. We're racing in Kentucky. And they bottle up in the start-finish line. The 62 is around. Caution out immediately. You see the damage to the 33 early. Brandon Jones, a lot of damage to the left front. Brendan Gaughan also.
We don't look bad, guys.
Issues to that car.
Well, Brandon Jones, he seems like he just cannot find any luck this year. Anytime he has an opportunity for something good, having something bad seems to happen.
It seems like there was a big delay as we see tons of damage to the front of Brian Reed's number 16.
Yeah, watch the 18 car. He looks like he gets really slow right here, and I think that just stacks everybody up behind.
You see the 62 gets the first car spun around. I'm not sure the 18 gets slower, it just doesn't go. It looks to me like the rest of the field tries to time the restart and accelerate into the back of the front row. And
he went with the flag went, though. The flag's waving, and remember, at the initial start of the race, there is no restart zone.
Right.
It's the initial start of the race. It's the flagman dropping the green flag. So I think he went when the flag dropped.
Ready, going late. Green flag, stacking up and pick up, stay up.
Yeah, just mistime. When you're in a car and you're in a line, you can't see what's ahead of you 4 or 5 rows. And see the 19 at Tiff pushing to 7 pushing. They're just all running into each other.
And a very close call for the 1 of Elliott Sadler. He was just in front of all of this taking place. Again, Elliott Sadler still winless in 2017, hasn't locked in a playoff spot as of yet. Marty.
And Rick, if you'll notice on those replays from the start of the race, Kyle Busch chose the outside line to start the race. He is the pole sitter. He has that prerogative. Now, normally you've seen everybody all weekend long choose the inside in the Truck Series race because that is the key line where you want to get going. That was intentional because he was going to let Eric Jones, who started on the bottom, was going to let him go. Kyle Busch got out front. Eric Jones was going to follow him on that bottom line because that was key. So having that bottom line is certainly where you want to be on the restart. But that plan thing with teammates, Jeff, that's a good move if it works out. But they came slowly to that first green flag of the day.
I think it was just so slow coming to the green that back in the 8th, 9th, 10th row, they just all got stacked up. They're just not anticipating that slow of a start. And, you know, everybody's trying to go, getting ready to anticipate when to accelerate, and they just mistimed it.
Let's listen in to the 16 of Ryan Reed in their radio.
Should be penalized for that because they started to go and jackrabbit it worse than anything I've ever seen.
So I don't disagree. I mean, I don't agree. I hear what he's saying. He thinks that the 18 started to grow, then stopped and stacked the field up. I don't think so. I think the 18 remained consistent. I just think he chose not to go all the way to the flag. That is what he has the right to do. The 18, in my mind, is very consistent. He's not changing his speed. It's just everyone behind him starts to accelerate. When we were on board with the 33, we heard him start to get on the gas. Well, the leader hadn't gone yet. So while the field wants to blame the pole sitter, I blame the field. That's everyone being very impatient, trying to judge the first start. I think right here, if you look, the 18 looks the same to me, the same to me. The 22 and 42 accelerate to the 18's bumper.
And so before they even get a quarter of a lap in, they stack up at the start-finish line. catch all the action, and there's plenty of it, as we've just seen, of the NASCAR on NBC with the NBC Sports app. Get closer with alternate camera angles, driver stats, and track information. Take another look at this initial start.
You look further back in the group, the green and white car, Kevin Harvick, he's left some space. He knows it's the initial start of the race. Also, the 7 car behind him, they both left space, but as that space starts to fill up, then the stack up starts behind them because they start to move and then they have to slow down, and then the guys behind them can't see that. So look further back, you see the white car and the yellow car. Watch as they accelerate. So they start to move. Now they've got to stop, and there it goes. It just stacks up all behind them. We see it every week. It's just like being on the interstate. You can't see very far in front of you. You end up being in a wreck that you didn't cause.
Let's listen into the 18 radio on what happened.
Way late on the initial green, huh? The flagman forgot to tap him. No, he did. That's what I called. That's when it was. It was just late.
When you heard him say tap him, what they're looking for is they're looking for the NASCAR official to tap the honorary flag, the race starter. He actually taps him on the shoulder. That's what the spotter and the lead driver look for.
Field approaching the Geico restart zone, and we'll try again. And just to be clear, to make sure, on the start of the race, the flagman starts the race. On every restart after that, the lead car, who is ever in the lead position, they have the opportunity to start the race in the restart zone. What a move by the 12. Moves up into the lead, Ryan Blaney.
Yeah, the 18 of Kyle Busch just got down in 1 and 2, either too hard or with too low a grip, and drove up to the 3rd lane, and there was nothing there.
Here comes Eric Jones on the inside in the 20 as well.
A little surprised that happened with the conversation that we heard from Marty about them trying to work together. He had the clear lead. You'd have thought he would have protected the bottom just a little bit because he was concerned about that top lane.
Side by side for the lead now. Blaney sliding back just a bit in the 12. And here comes the 18 of Kyle Busch. That is a battle for second. Kyle Busch takes the spot away from Blaney, and now they all go down to the yellow line. But Blaney ran a lap and a half out there in that second groove, looked to be holding his own.
It will take a while for that to come in, if it comes in at all. This is a repaved racetrack, so typically repaves are right around the bottom. If the second groove comes in, it won't be right off the bat. It's going to take a while to get the racetrack cleaned up.
And another caution has come out. This time it's Brendan Gaughan into the wall on the backstretch coming out of 2. And he was involved in the initial incident. And a lot of damage to the right side. I'm sure Brendan Gaughan not happy about the way this race has started.
Yeah, remember, Brendan was in that first incident, and so many times a day, Steve, we see cars that are repaired trying to get back on the racetrack, and they cut a tire, they have some kind of problem in an effort to try to get back on the racetrack.
And the safety crews attending to him. We'll take a look at what happened.
Yeah, you see the 62 already up out of the groove. That's a hard hit right there in the middle of turns 1 and 2. At the angle of that hit and the position in the corner, you would think it's definitely some sort of compounded problem from the first accident of the day.
still under the second caution already of the day. I want to go back to the start of the race and show you, I know drivers were complaining. They thought Kyle Busch wasn't going fast enough or maybe even slowed down. We're going to put in our pointer, which will show you the speed.
That's real clear right here. 42, 43, 44. If anything, he's accelerating very slowly, kind of holding his own speed. So definitely did not slow down to stack up the field. That's what we thought we saw, Jeff. We were right. The 18, that is a good restart.
And look right here. This is the flagman. This is the NASCAR official with the honorary flagman. Watch him touch him and watch when Kyle Busch goes. See that tap? That's drop the green flag, and that's where Kyle Busch goes. So Kyle Busch did everything right. There was nothing wrong Kyle Busch did. It was just that anticipation of trying to get the race going. Kelly.
Brandon Jones now released from the infield care center. Brandon, man, this one was over for you almost before it began. How did that start play out for you?
Yeah, it's kind of an example why you don't qualify on the back like that. I wish we could have got a little better starting spot than that. I thought we had a great race car, though. Practice, we were third. I ran the truck race, finished second. So I felt like I really had this track down, you know. So it was unfortunate. I felt like we could have really made something out of it today and had AAA on the car, and was proud to have them back. So I just unfortunate, you know, we were waiting in the rain all day long yesterday, come back today, kind of drug out all week, and something that happens that quick. So I don't have much to say. It's unfortunate. I think we'll just take it to New Hampshire next week and be good there, hopefully.
Brandon Jones looking for a little luck, guys.
And Rick, I loved that answer out of Brandon Jones. He didn't say Kyle Busch. He didn't say another driver's name. He purely looked in the mirror and said, that's why you can't qualify in the back. He looked at what his team could have done differently to change his outcome. And I think that is what's going to help this young man continue to grow. It can't always be someone else's fault. Sometimes it just happens to be your own.
And he did nothing wrong in this wreck. He was sitting there and a car jumps up in front of him. He did nothing wrong, but he just said, hey, we're in control of our own destiny. If we sit on the pole, if we qualify well, we're not in this wreck. And that is accountability. What happened yesterday affected today.
I want to listen into the spotter communication from the 18 team on what's about to be another restart.
Think about it if you want. Let us know if you need anything from the 20 on the start. If you want to do a restart deal or just go, it's up to you.
We just tried that, and I didn't get let down. You were braver than me to ask that question.
Well, he was trying to, but you can only do so much when you get pushed from behind.
And that was spotter coverage presented by Liberty Mutual Insurance, helping drivers worry less. And again, teammates try to choreograph maybe a way for them to fall into line without it being racing initially. And we just heard how Kyle said, hey, we tried that. It didn't work.
Well, the problem with those plans is that you have this expectation of a great amount of help. And when everything doesn't work just right, then you get upset at your teammate. And in that situation, you heard Kyle say, hey, he didn't let me down. I thought there was a lane for him to come down, but he was getting pushed from behind. But, you know, teammates sometimes working together end up hurting each other.
So now it will be Eric Jones who will be able to decide either inside or outside lane for the restart. I do want to go down before the restart to the Toyota Camry on-track car with Rutledge Wood.
Rick, when we were here last year, you guys know we're here at the Toyota at-track car. This is, of course, the Cup car, but guys, you remember the Xfinity cars had that huge duckbill spoiler on the back. Being a big car guy, I know that difference in downforce, but Steve, I wonder from your side, you know, with this downforce package everybody's talking about on these cars, you know, how much difference is that difference in inches on that rear spoiler playing for teams right now?
Well, Rutledge, you're absolutely right. We've talked about how tricky this racetrack is. Well, this big downforce change has only added it to it. These shots from last year show you a spoiler 6 inches tall, plus you had the opportunity to put a 1-inch wicker bill on the edge. That's almost a 7-inch tall spoiler on the back of the car. This year, 3.5 inches. That's 50%, basically, half the size on that rear spoiler, Jeff. As you know, downforce, the driver's best friend. That is a huge adjustment for this Xfinity field.
It's a big adjustment. I think it's adjustment in the right direction. I think these cars need to drive bad to teach these drivers that want to be in the Cup Series. I think bad driving cars is the right training ground, and I think the quality of racing is better as well. So good move by NASCAR.
I'm sorry I'm smiling when you say that, but you just said you want these cars to drive bad.
Yes,
You're
sir.
a driver saying you want the cars to drive bad.
And here's why I want them to drive bad. I believe that this is the proving grounds to prove yourself against the Cup guys. And if you can drive a more difficult driving car and compete with these guys, and it shows that you have the ability to do it at the next level. Running wide open around a racetrack with tons of downforce, that shows nothing. When you got to lift and drive the car, that's when skill of the crew chief, the engineers, everybody involved, and the driver come into play.
Well, NASCAR Drive is NASCAR.com's live race day companion. It's now available on your mobile device. You can select your favorite camera angle or driver with in-car video. You can even match multiple angles at once. Never miss a lap with NASCAR Drive. Visit NASCAR.com/drive from your PC, tablet, or mobile device. The 16 of Ryan Reed, we saw him get bunched up initially, and we heard from Marty. He had mentioned that there was some fluid in his pit stall, so he is actually behind the wall in the garage for a mechanical issue. That means that he can come back out onto the track. There is no clock on him to fix that car, so the 5-minute clock does not apply to the 16 of Ryan Reed. They're working on a mechanical issue to get him back out on the track. And they're 2x2 once again. It's Eric Jones, Kyle Busch making up row number 1. Do you get a little leery, Jeff, as we get ready for the restart from what happened on the very first start? Is that something that you're a little hesitant maybe now that this is the third one and you have to think, all right, I don't want to be too anxious to start this race because obviously we don't want to ball them up again?
Well, yes, I would be nervous because we saw Kyle Busch out of the groove and not making lap time, going slow around the corner. So Eric Jones is on the outside right here. So yes, I think that I would be very concerned. I don't want to get down on the bottom of the racetrack right now.
So Eric Jones has chosen the outside line. Kyle Busch the inside line. Maybe they're going to try it again. As far as the outside line, not the preferred line here at Kentucky yet. We'll see what happens as the race progresses. But Eric Jones will be on the outside and Kyle Busch on the inside as they get ready to enter the restart zone. A great start by Eric Jones there. He's able to get down in front of the 18. The 18 was being pushed by Ryan Blaney in the 12. And a little wiggle there as he entered 1. Cole Custer in the 00 on the outside trying to hang on to that third spot as he wiggles a bit going down the backstretch. Joey Logano in the 22 on the inside of Cole Custer. Those two side by side for 4th. Dave.
And as Cole now gets the crossover in front of him there, likes his car pretty well right now, but interesting, before the race, a number of adjustments the teams were allowed for today's day race. One of them is to remove a cover from the right rear window that can add air coming to the driver. As you see Brendan Poole taking a look at the 00 as well. That's called a NACA duct, and I asked Jeff Mendering, the crew chief, if they did that. He said, yes, we did, but Cole doesn't need it. I said, why else would you do it? He said, well, it adds some downforce to the rear end of that race car, which can help it going into the turns, and that's a good thing for this rookie.
Cole Custer, youngest winner ever in the Truck Series, and now still looking for his first Xfinity Series win.
3 wide into turn 3. We saw that last year not work out in the Cup race. It seems like these drivers have somehow got it sorted out, but this is a test very early on for William Byron in that 9. He's just going to have to remain patient. It looks like his car gets through the corner pretty well, but there's really no real estate in front of him. He has to let the competitors kind of get back to single file before he can start to advance.
And as everyone begins to get into a little bit of a rhythm, I had mentioned earlier the competition caution was going to be at lap 20. They have extended it to lap 25 because of the 2 cautions early in this race.
See Kevin Harvick with the Hunt Brothers Pizza car. Got a good view of this battle. He's hoping to take advantage. See William Byron drove by the 3, but then slid up the racetrack, lost some momentum. Now Kevin Harvick's trying to take advantage of that, trying to get his right front fender to Williams' left rear quarter panel. You saw that happen. Now he's side by side.
It seems like if the second lane is ever going to come in, it happens on this end of the racetrack first. In 1 and 2, where there is more banking, last year's race, that is the groove that came in first of the 2 high line. Down here in 3 and 4, where it's much flatter like this, Kevin's going to try to force the 9 off the bottom just like he's done right here. Although William Byron did a nice job not overdriving that corner and really held his own.
He said he did a nice job. That's because it's very difficult not to overdrive the entry to turn 3. It's very flat, not much banking in the entrance to turn 3. You overdrive that corner, you're going to shoot up the racetrack. William Byron putting up a good fight on the outside. You mentioned it, Steve. The outside in 1 and 2 looks certainly better than the outside in 3 and 4.
William Byron once again going for 3 wins in a row in his first 3 wins coming consecutively. Got the first win at Iowa, then last week at Daytona got win number 2 and looking for win 3. And the competition we had mentioned in this race quite a bit steeper, especially when you're talking about who he's racing right now. Kevin Harvick, a former champion of the Xfinity Series as well as a Cup Series champion.
You see Kevin, there's always a lot of conversation about these Cup drivers racing on Saturday, but he is really giving William a lot of space, racing him very respectively. When he was inside him, there was moments where he could have came up maybe perhaps and took some air off the 9 car, but he left the 9 a full lane, probably a lane and a half. I mean, with 179 laps to go in the race, I think Kevin Harvick is showing some patience early in this race.
And one thing, too, I'm seeing with William Byron is he's been able to open his entry up, meaning he's not having to turn real early and get to the yellow line quickly. That's a good sign that we could see a second groove develop. See how much higher he is on corner entry than Kevin Harvick is? That's the beginning of the development of a second groove.
And William Byron looking good just in front of Kevin Harvick. One of the drivers out early in this one, Brendan Gaughan, has been checked and is now outside the infield care center with Kelly.
And he's been joking around, but it was a hard hit there for you, Brendan. Was that just a product, though, of the start and the incident there?
Yeah, whatever happened on the start, and it's a cording deal, and I tapped the guy in front of me a little bit, and we all got accordioned out, and we just didn't get the tire clearance enough trying to stay on that lead lap. And thank you to whoever in Nebraska made that really cool wall that flexes. I want to say thank you to him. That was a hell of a shot, but walk away. Some people would argue that I don't have much up here to hurt, so I'm okay. But bummer, man. The South Point Chevy. We've been battling back into the playoff picture. We're fast every week. It's just, man, we've had a hell of a year.
Thank you, Brendan.
Thank you.
He says battling back, he was 12th coming into the start of this race. I think that's Kelly's that he borrowed, but was putting a little bit of makeup on there for his cameo. But very frustrating, obviously, for Brendan. He has been involved in the Camping World Truck Series, had great success there. The Xfinity Series, he's run in the Cup Series. Has settled in here at the Xfinity Series, trying to win a championship, trying to win races. And as he mentioned, he was battling back into the playoff picture, and now, his day is over, less than 10 laps into this race. So he will have to look to the next race as trying to get back into that playoff picture.
Yeah, and it really hurts when you fall out before any of the stage finishes. Those points are awarded at the end of each stage. So an early expiration from a race almost carries a bigger penalty than it has in years past.
We would expect a competition caution to be coming out now, and it does. And so this will be for the teams to be able to have the opportunity to look at the tire wear. They can add fuel now on a pit stop if they come to pit road. Will everyone come to pit road, or will they stay out potentially just to maybe get what you were talking about, maybe a stage win?
I expect the majority of the leaders to stay on the racetrack. We've only run 25 laps total, and 10 of those were under yellow. So 15 green flag laps on your tires. Fuel is not a concern to get to the end of stage 1. And as we just discussed, those points are available not only to try to qualify for the playoffs, but if you're one of those teams that you feel will be in the playoffs, there's that very valuable playoff point. So this is the balance, though, because you look at the rundown, it's Cup driver, Cup driver, Cup driver, Cup driver in the front 4. So right now, Cole Custer in the 5th position is the first leading Xfinity regular.
Could you give up track position now to get better track position for the end of stage 2? We've heard so much about these tires lasting a long time and not meaning so much. Could a team in 10th, say Kevin Harvick, say William Byron in 9th, could he pit now and not pit when the stage end happens?
Well, I think that's the question for those 4 leaders. I wouldn't even go back to Kevin Harvick. I mean, a stage win means nothing to Eric Jones, Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, or Ryan Blaney. They are here purely for lap 200. They want to raise the trophy. That is the goal. So these stages that we've talked about all year long affect drivers racing for a championship. It doesn't affect these other drivers. So they are going to be on a completely different strategy. They may pit to put themselves in the window. I don't think they want to get back in traffic. I think they like this track position, but we're getting ready to see as they come up to pit road, and pit road is open.
And a few takers, quite a few that are out front that stayed out on the racetrack. And Ryan Blaney was the first to turn left onto pit road. Let's go to Kelly.
And the pep talk for Ryan Blaney before we got the green flag was, hey, you've shown the last month or so that you can beat anyone, anytime. He's got wins in both Xfinity and Cup. You see they're going to go to work. They've put a wrench in the car to make a chassis adjustment for Blaney, and it looks like it's going to be a 2-tire stop. Artie?
Kevin Harvick a little too free. They went down half around on the track bar, 4 fresh Goodyear tires. So a lot of the leaders staying out, some pitting. Harvick will have 4 fresh tires. We'll see how that will play an advantage for him, Rick.
Free pass goes to Angela Cope-Ruck as she will get back on the lead lap. And it has turned into a Saturday afternoon race. The Xfinity Series scheduled to go last night, but because of the storms that passed through, it has been delayed until a day race. And so a different track condition. They were able to put a little more rubber down on the track early this morning to hopefully widen out the groove. And we're already seeing some pretty impressive racing side by side. The field approaching the Geico restart zone. Eric Jones, race leader, is supposed to restart the race. Looks like the 18 of Kyle Busch maybe tried to anticipate that a little bit, backed off of it, and was able to let the 20 go on that restart. Restarts have been tough here so far. They're going to take a look at NASCAR. I say he's going to take a look at that restart to make sure everything was okay.
I wonder if, in an effort to work together, if they just didn't anticipate when each were going to go.
And I understand what the teams are trying to do, Rick. You know, trying to take advantage of their being teammates, trying to look out for one another. But I do think it's getting a little far-fetched. You know, it's fine on the racetrack if you don't want to perhaps put another person in a bad position or drive in on somebody's quarter panel. But it seems like a lot of this working together on restarts is creating almost more problems than it's trying to solve.
And remember, it's only 15 to go right now to the end of stage 1. So these guys back here racing for points. You see William Byron in a battle. These points matter to these guys. Tyler Reddick underneath him.
And NASCAR has deemed the restart was fine. And we focus in on this great side-by-side battle. On the inside, the 22 of Logano. And outside of him, that 2 of Paul Menard. William Byron just behind them, and the 42 of Tyler Reddick still racing for position. William Byron has really been one car that we've seen try to get that second groove working, trying to make it work. In the attempt to make it work, he's fallen back. He's currently 7th. We want to look again at the restart. We had mentioned So Eric Jones is the lead car. He's on the outside. Kyle Busch is on the inside.
I think Kyle Busch was anticipating Eric Jones was going to go before he did, and then he didn't go, and then of course he's not the leader of the race, so if he starts too early he's going to get penalized, so he checked up to let Eric go. So that was just not a very well organized restart.
And again, the restarts are different from the start of the race. The restarts, the lead car, once they get into the restart zone, can restart anywhere in that zone. If they get to the second line in that restart zone, then the flagman will throw the green flag and everyone is allowed to go. So Kyle Busch was getting close to that second line, looked like he anticipated a bit, tried to go, but he did not jump that start, and so that's why NASCAR has deemed it okay. Marty.
And Rick, I think Kyle Busch is growing a little tired of all these restart games very early in this race. Take a listen to the radio. And that was pretty succinct, and he's talking about cars behind them sort of lagging back and laying behind. Jeff, why does that give cars behind Kyle a bit of an advantage?
Marty, that conversation's been going on as long as racing's happened. It's an advantage when you're the trailing car to lay back a little bit and anticipate the run to build some momentum to try to get underneath the guy in front of you. It also creates a little bit of a buffer when things get checked up. You're not going to run right into the back. So it's a defense mechanism, but it's also full offense because of that momentum you gain by getting a little bit of a run if you time it just right.
You know, Rick, we focused a lot on the front row, but every conversation I've ever had with NASCAR about restarts and restarts in question, they have always reminded me that every car in the field has a responsibility on this restart, and it's different for everyone. But the leader, he has to allow the pace car to pull off and then maintain that speed. I don't think it's an exact mile per hour. These cars don't have speedometers, but have a reasonable, you know, maintain that reasonable speed. And then when they get to the zone, they have the opportunity to accelerate. All the other cars have to stay caught up.
Here we are riding along with Matt Tifft in the Toyota in-car cam. He actually, right behind him or right underneath him now is Kevin Harvick. Remember, these guys pitted. Kevin Harvick is passing Tifft to be the second car on tires. So this battle matters because when the caution comes out for the stage in, probably everybody in front of these guys are going to pit, and these guys would be the leader.
We saw Ryan Blaney come to pit road. He got 2 right side tires. He's currently running 9th. Kevin Harvick now has moved up to the 12th position, and he got 4 fresh tires when he was on pit road. Rutledge.
Rick, there's a new decal on Kevin Harvick's car this weekend on the C-pillar. It's this one right here for Shannon Darnell. Shannon is the niece of the Hunt Brothers Pizza marketing relations manager, Julie Whittington, who tragically lost her life in a car wreck last month. This was something special that Harvick and the team wanted to do to honor Shannon. It's a surprise to everybody at Hunt Brothers this weekend. So that's a new decal you see there on the C-pillar.
And Hunt Brothers Pizza and Kevin Harvick have had a long relationship, almost many years. When Kevin got involved in racing, they have jumped on board with him, and Elliott Sadler also another driver that they have a very good relationship with.
And Rick, I think many times fans think that sponsors are just a business relationship. When you're with a company for a long period of time, you build emotional relationships. You have friends, you have people you enjoy being with, and when something happens, you want to stand there and support them.
So Kevin Harvick moving up. He is running 11th. It's Eric Jones out in front. He has about a half a second lead over Kyle Busch. Then Joey Logano, Paul Menard, and Tyler Reddick are the top 5. Dave.
Eric Jones has a pretty good relationship going with sponsor Reesers, but he doesn't have such a good relationship with his driveline right now. Listen.
It doesn't feel like tires. It just feels like the whole car. It's just coming up through the bottom of the car more than anything, None of that in practice, right? No. It just kind of started getting worse and then leveled off, and now it's just here.
That was a vibration that he really noticed on the last run. They talked about it over caution. Not too worried about it right now. Probably more worried about the pressure from behind.
Something about these repaves that I think because the track itself is so smooth, you hear a lot of drivers commenting about vibrations, Jeff. I don't know if it's just the car doesn't bounce and shake and kind of cycle in and out of the vibrations. Sometimes they just stay kind of sustained as the 18. He's working hard. That was a little bit of a slide there off turn 4.
The gap had been at a half a second between the top 2, and Kyle Busch now has closed it into under 0.4 of a second. But it's a process, driver. This isn't something where he can just drive right up to the back bumper of Eric Jones and try to get past him. He has to lap by lap by lap make sure his line is perfect and wait for Eric Jones to make a mistake.
And he's chasing a driver that has proven to have the ability to win races in a car that's very similar to his. So, you know, that makes these two cars very, very equal. It's going to be a, you know, pit stops, restarts, all those things. We talk about track position constantly, and that's why. If you have a good pit stop and you can get in front of that 20 car, well, it's going to be hard for the 20 to get around the 18. So that's why all the things we talk about, all the little things matter so much.
Pit road is closed. It was closed when the 20 of Eric Jones went across the finish line the last time by. Now just one lap to go in this first stage. Eric Jones, Kyle Busch running 1 and 2. Tyler Reddick back in the 42 car is 5th. In between them, Logano and Menard running 3rd and 4th. So Eric Jones, as he works his way around this 1.5 mile track, comes back by the finish line, and he will win stage number 1. And the highest scored Xfinity Series driver is going to be Tyler Reddick in 5th. So he will receive 6 points. Cole Custer, William Byron, Justin Allgaier, all in the top 10, all earning bonus points for finishing the top 10 in stage 1. But it's Eric Jones who gets the win in stage 1. Spotter coverage brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance, helping drivers worry less on the track and on the road. You see the spotters up above the grandstands and the press box here at Kentucky Speedway.
Rick, they've been tested and tested early. I mean, on those restarts, Jeff mentioned that as a driver back 5, 6, 7 rows, you just can't see what the leaders are doing. Their only communication is what the spotter's telling them about how the front row is entering the restart zone.
Pit road is open. Eric Jones in the 20 is going to lead the field onto pit road. Dave.
and his crew chief had to interpret something that maybe Eric could fix with his driving style and something the crew could fix with an air pressure and a chassis adjustment. He will get 4 Goodyear tires and a Phillips Sunoco fuel, Marty.
His teammate Kyle Busch, middle of your screen, ran second to Eric Jones for that entire run pretty much. Right here, he said the car got a little bit tighter the longer they ran. They're thinking 2 Goodyear tires here, and there's the track bar adjustment to help it out. Oh, and he almost gets in a wreck on pit road, Kelly.
Joey Logano started off tight. His car loosened up as the run went on. They were debating between 2 and 4 tires. The call was Powerade. It looks like 4 new ones for the 22.
And Eric Jones is going to hold his position. The race off of pit road. Ryan Blaney and Kevin Harvick stayed out on the track while those pit stops were being done. We want to dial up the winner of this most recent stage and see if we can chat with Eric Jones.
Hey, Eric, it's Jeff up in the NBC booth. You with us?
I got you.
Well, man, these restarts have been crazy early in this race. Can you tell us what's been going on?
Yeah, it looks like they've been pretty wild back there, so hopefully we can stay out of trouble here. Looks like we're going to be back behind a couple cars, so been nice to be out front, get some clean air at these repaves is always kind of king. So we got a good race car. Hopefully make a good couple changes here, get a little bit better, get back out front.
You've come so close to winning here, and had misfortune seem to find you. You think you got a car good enough today to make it happen?
I think we do. Sure would be nice to get that first Kentucky win, but you know, it's still changing a lot. The track's going through a pretty big transition here, I think, right now. And the sun being out, being hot and slick, we really hadn't practiced on this either all weekend. So just have to keep up with that and see what happens.
Thank you, Eric. Good luck, bud.
So Eric Jones, after coming off pit road, will not be up front for this next restart. Take a look at the stage standings presented by Ford Performance. Again, the drivers that are not running for points in the Xfinity Series didn't receive any, so that's why Tyler Reddick is the first that you see receiving stage points. Pace car leaves the track in the hands of Ryan Blaney and Kevin Harvick making up row 1 as we get into the Geico restart zone. Ryan Blaney on the outside, Harvick on the inside.
Old tires versus new tires. We're getting ready to answer that question. We've all wondered on this replay which is going to be better, track position or better tires.
Kyle Busch trying to make that outside line work in the 18. Eric Jones in the 20 on the inside. And right now, Kyle Busch all over the back bumper of the 41 of Kevin Harvick. May have even got him loose through the turn. And Kyle Busch is going to go by. So is Eric Jones. They can go below the yellow line. A week ago at Daytona, they could not race below the yellow line. Anything paved here at Kentucky is fair game. Pretty good separation between Kevin Harvick and the 2 of Paul Menard and the 1 of Elliott Sadler. Then William Byron on the inside of Cole Custer. Again, Byron trying for 3 in a row. And now he's got his hands full. He's in the middle of 3 wide.
And those are the types of decisions that we keep talking about. The 19-year-old William Byron, as we see Cole Custer continues to wiggle up the racetrack. He doesn't drive like he's 19, Jeff. He lifted, let those cars go, understood there wasn't enough room for 3 wide.
Yeah, sometimes you have to make smart decisions, especially racing for a championship, trying to earn these points that we keep talking about.
Ryan Blaney trying to hold off the 18 and 20. Kyle Busch and Eric Jones with a little fresher tires. Ryan Blaney was on pit road on lap 27, and Kyle Busch and Eric Jones both came under this most recent caution.
Ryan Blaney is cheering Eric Jones on because the best defense for the 12 car will be to have the 18 and the 20 get side by side, race a little bit, allow him to extend his lead.
We talked about this low downforce package that the Xfinity cars have now. Watch right here, the 41 and the 18. The 18 pulls right up behind the 41, pulling air off his spoiler, taking downforce away from the car. Obviously, also with a faster car, so using that lack of downforce to Kyle Busch's advantage.
And this is now what Eric Jones has to do. We saw Kyle Busch find a way by the 41. Now can the 20 find a way by the 18? Can he get close enough to disrupt this 18? Right now at 2 car lengths back, Jeff, I can't imagine that Kyle feels him back there yet.
No, I don't think so. I think right now that Eric is feeling the bad effects of aerodynamics behind the 18. Right now the air is being taken off of his car, does not have the grip that it had when he was leading. You heard him say when I interviewed him that he wanted to be in clean racetrack. He wanted that clean air, and that's because he doesn't have to deal with it. Right now, Blaney has that clean air, and Eric Jones has lost it.
And Blaney has been able to hold that lead, even though he doesn't have as fresh a tires as Kyle Busch and Eric Jones. So early in this race, can we make an assumption that the tires are equaling out after they get maybe 20 to 25 laps on them?
I think that's fair to make that assumption, but at the same time, they've driven away from Kevin Harvick. So you still have to have a car to take advantage of the track position. Marty.
Right now, Elliott Sadler in the 6th position. You know, sometimes rainouts can kind of cramp your family style. Today, Elliott Sadler was supposed to be at home in Emporia, Virginia, with his 7-year-old son, Wyatt, who made the All-Star team in baseball. Now he coaches Wyatt on a regular basis, but the All-Star team he can't coach. He was going to go as a dad today. Instead, he's racing at Kentucky, trying to win one for his 7-year-old, who he's missing that All-Star game this afternoon, Dave.
Hey, Marty, I had some fun in pre-race. Guess what I did?
No, Dave, you tell me.
I photobombed somebody. It was this guy, the driver of the 7, Justin Allgaier. He was taking a picture with his beautiful family, wife Ashley, and daughter Harper Grace, and I just took the opportunity to step in. Folks, if you see it on social media, go ahead and like it, because I know I did. Kelly?
Last year, Brendan Poole, who runs in the 48 car, told me that running full-time in the Xfinity Series was really a way for him to prove to himself that he could still race. Now this year, he's trying to prove it to the rest of the field. He told me that he started off this year running more aggressively, perhaps too aggressive at times. Sometimes on restarts, he was looking for something that maybe wasn't quite there. As a result, they feel like they haven't gotten all the finishes that they're capable of. Still, they picked up valuable stage points. They're 4th in the championship standings. He says they feel like they can get their first win. They're chipping away at it today.
So out front, Ryan Blaney is able to hold off Kyle Busch, Eric Jones, Kevin Harvick, and Paul Menard. Those are the top 5 at Kentucky in the Xfinity Series race. NASCAR on NBCSN is brought to you by Ford. Going further so you can. Arby's. We have the meals. And by Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. Reese's. Perfect. You're watching NASCAR Xfinity Series racing from Kentucky. The Alsco 300. Ryan Blaney out in front. Has a 1 second lead over now Eric Jones, who was able to get by Kyle Busch with this move.
You see, Kyle just did not get to the bottom of the racetrack. Wasn't able to stay there, and Eric Jones took advantage of it. We heard a report from Marty telling us that he had gotten really loose. Kyle Busch had gotten really loose, and I'm sure Kyle just can't enter the corner like he wants to enter. So that's hurting him right now.
Rutledge.
Rick, I'm down here on Matt Tiff's pit box with his dad, Quentin, who drove down from Hinckley, Ohio yesterday. Pretty amazing to think of the support that he's got when a year ago he was at home recovering from that brain tumor surgery, watching the race. But here he is, his dad here with him again. Pretty amazing. The team's running 17th right now. Matt's digging for everything he can, but he's one of those great guys you really love to pull for out here in the Xfinity Series.
Yeah, an incredible story. I mean, Matt Tiff, a brain tumor, had to have brain surgery and was able to come back and race last year. I believe the surgery was July 1st and he was back on the track in September. So an amazing run and turn of events for Matt Tiff, still able to stay competitive. The first race back after the brain surgery was right here in September.
And Rick, when he came back, he actually got his career best finish here in the Xfinity Series with a 5th place finish. He told me that every time he comes back to Kentucky, it's really special for him. He's just had so many cool moments. And of course, it doesn't hurt that he thinks statistically this is one of his best cracks. So he has a lot of confidence coming here as well.
And confidence is key. Momentum, confidence. If a driver feels good at a certain racetrack, they're able to be a little more aggressive maybe if they have that feeling that they can do maybe more than what other drivers can, as we see Ryan Blaney just going by some of the lap traffic.
I think confidence matters. I really believe it's just a matter when you have a racetrack that you run well on, you know what you need there. You know what the car is supposed to feel like. And so when it doesn't, you can identify it much more quickly and get that fixed with your crew chief.
Yeah, and as we jump on board here with Ryan Blaney in this Ford in-car camera, you basically see there's some lap cars in front of him, but now that Eric Jones has moved into second, I think the key is that yellow line. You see right here, he's going to be a little patient, turned underneath this lap car. I think that Ryan Blaney really has control of this race, barring a mistake, and that mistake would be overdriving one of these corners, not getting down to the bottom. That yellow line is the leader's friend. The driver can't get to your left. There's just no banking, no grip. So do not make the mistake. You lose a ton of time by missing the bottom. You see working underneath Mike Lynette, who had to pit earlier with a flat tire. Once again, down into turn one, Jeff. As a driver, now it's really about rhythm, catching the lap cars at the right place and making sure you get to that yellow line.
And we have seen so many times where lap traffic really affects these races, and timing that lap traffic is exactly going to be important if Eric Jones starts to run Blaney down.
How about the run by Joey Logano there? Just splitting between Sadler and Reddick, and Logano jumping out in front of both of those drivers, as well as Brennan Poole. Reddick just out in front of Joey Logano, though. And they are racing back in the 9th and 10th position. Logano currently in 9th. Ryan Blaney, Eric Jones, Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Paul Menard, all in the top 5. But then running 6th is William Byron. And William Byron right now at the top of the playoff standings with 2 wins. The last 2 races he has been able to get to victory lane. 11 playoff points already for William Byron. But points very important, as we just saw Elliott Sadler fall another position back when Joey Logano was able to get by. He is currently leading the points with 302 above the cut line and in a position to advance to the playoffs, but nothing is a guarantee.
Well, we heard that he got very little practice yesterday because of the problems that they have with the track bar. These are the kind of days that Elliott Sadler's experience are going to come into play. You have to manage this kind of day, don't you, Steve, where you may not have the fastest car, but you still have to find a way to get a good finish.
Yeah, I mean, I think those are the days that are most important when it comes to points racing and making some playoffs. It's not the days you have the best car. It's the days that you're just average. Try to do a little better than average. If it's a 10th place car, work your way up maybe inside the top 7, top 8.
Gain as many points as you possibly can. Right now, Ryan Blaney setting the pace here in Kentucky as we go NASCAR nonstop. Looking down on Kentucky Speedway, our aerial coverage provided by our partners at Smithfield Foods. And it is in the heat of the day that the Xfinity Series is racing. Scheduled to run last night, but because of the storms, it is now a day race for Ryan Blaney and the rest of the crew. Eric Jones still running second, running 1.6 seconds behind Blaney. Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Paul Menard still in the top 5. Then it's William Byron who's running 6. Kelly?
Coming off those back-to-back wins, Rick, and William told me for sure that gave him more confidence, but more importantly said now we have a formula for how we can win races. I've taken mental notes throughout the weekend, really focusing on our strengths. Those strengths, so he said we have got good long run speed, good stops, and good restarts. We just need to make sure we stay within our own strong suits, keep doing what works best for us. Right now, William Byron in that 9 car is running 6th, Marty.
Kelly, how about this run for Tyler Reddick in the 9th position right now? Shares this car all year long with Kyle Larson, who will race the Cup race later today and start at the back of the field, by the way. Reddick told me before the race, I feel like this is the best car we've had all year long, and they're proving it right now. He hasn't fallen out of the top 10 all day long. Mike Shiplett told me on the last stop they made no changes. Tyler was very happy with his car right now in the 9th spot, Dave.
Marty, on the last pit stop, Ty Dillon came down pit road and took on right side tires on the 3 car. The stop was so quick that when Ray Black Jr., the pit stall next to him, came in, he crossed over the right front of Ty's car, did some damage, so he had to re-pit. Started at the very end of this field to start this run, and is all the way back up to 13th. Says his car's balance is okay, just needs some track position.
I think that's what everybody's looking for right now. A little track position.
It's so easy to say, so hard to get, Rick, and that's really the point. I mean, the 3 didn't, had a little issue, came in, repaired the car, but unfortunately now, everyone is looking for this track position. 15 years ago, you saw some very creative moves on pit road, but now everybody is so smart and has so many different tools to analyze the races, whether it's watching them, rewatching them on TV, looking at timing and scoring. It's hard to get, we always say, well, they should get outside the box. Well, I'm not even sure where the box ends anymore. All of these crew chiefs and drivers alike are being aggressive because they know they need to get that track position.
Yeah, one thing you see in front of Ty Dillon is nothing but clean racetrack, so he's done all he can do. He can't get to anybody else before this stage ends. So for him to gain more track position, he's going to need to either do it on this next restart or have a great pit stop.
You see the full-time Xfinity Series drivers and where they are running. Points so important. William Byron, although points are important, he's looking for that 3rd consecutive win, his 3rd career win in the Xfinity Series. It's never been done before where a driver has got their 1st win, then their 2nd win, and their 3rd win in consecutive races. And that's what William Byron has in front of him today.
Well, Rick, and at the top of the show, Jeff here told us how much more difficult the field was going to be today, and I think this has proven it. When you look at it, William Byron is the leading Xfinity regular. He's in the 6th position, but in front of him we have Paul Menard, Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, Eric Jones, Ryan Blaney, all Cup Series regulars. So Jeff, you definitely didn't miss it. This field is much, much, much tougher than the field he had to race in Iowa. And while it was a stacked field at Daytona, a lot of accidents, I think, also removed some of those Cup regulars.
Yeah, Daytona's a race hour to itself. It's just so different than what they do on a normal basis.
Pit road is closed. We are now 2 laps away from the end of stage 2, and Eric Jones still 1.5 seconds behind Ryan Blaney. It doesn't look like he's going to be able to get the sweep as far as getting stage 1 and stage 2 wins. Marty.
Kyle Busch sitting in 3rd, Rick, as we close out stage 2 here. He said when he hits 7,400 RPM, which he does going into 1 and into turn 3 every lap, he said the motor starts to vibrate inside the race car. Roger Purcell, the engine tuner, looked at Eric Phillips, the crew chief. He kind of shook his hand and said, I don't know what we can do about it, but yes, that's got to be a little disconcerting for a driver when you're feeling that twice a lap.
Very concerning, and when I hear he feels like he can feel the engine, that would make it even more concerning. Normal vibration, not so much, but talking about an engine, and that is very, very concerning.
This is the 12 of Ryan Blaney, and he will get stage 2 win. He was on the inside of 3 wide, but that wasn't for position. Ryan Blaney, Eric Jones, Kyle Busch. It'll be Kevin Harvick and Paul Menard ending up in the top 5 in stage 2.
But remember, for Matt Tiff, who is racing to stay on the lead lap, the caution doesn't come out till they all come around. So Matt Tiff was able to get back in front, I believe was able to get back in front of Blaney before the caution came out, and I believe that will keep him on the lead lap.
So there, Matt Tiff was the last car on the lead lap, hoping to stay on the lead lap as Ryan Blaney gets the Stage 2 win. NASCAR on NBCSN is brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance, helping drivers worry less on the track and on the road. You can bring the whole family to a NASCAR race, and it's never been easier or cheaper. Kids 12 and under are free for every Xfinity and Camping World Truck Series race on the schedule, and discounted tickets are available for every Monster Energy Cup Series event. You can visit NASCAR.com/kidstickets to learn more about the free and discounted tickets for every event that's near you. Ryan Blaney wins stage number 2. Eric Jones, who had won stage 1, was able to catch up to the back bumper of Ryan Blaney. They were able to get by Kevin Harvick, and I say they, Eric Jones and Kyle Busch, on the fresher tires, but Eric Jones couldn't ever catch up completely to Ryan Blaney. So Ryan Blaney, even on the older tires, was able to hold off Eric Jones as they get ready to come to pit road now. Dave.
And Rick Jones couldn't make the pass because he says, I've lost overall grip in this car. The balance is fine, but you need to do something for the overall grip. That'll start with a chassis adjustment, and right side Goodyear tires looks like he'll get lefts this time as well. Marty?
Dave, Kyle Busch said the fronts came in like I wanted in that run. We were good for 2 or 3 laps, but then the car went real loose on me. That's where he lost all that track position. You see him go down on the track bar, trying to tighten up this car. Sunoco fuel and 4 fresh Goodyear tires this time, Kelly.
Ryan Blaney said his car was building tight at both ends of the racetrack. He's looking for a little more turn, so they're making a wedge adjustment for Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuel, and he's on his way out.
And the race off the pit road. Going to be a close one there between Ryan Blaney and Eric Jones. Also, Logano coming up and gaining 5 positions and only took 2 tires. So Logano a little bit out of sequence of everyone else. And Steve, most of them were taking 4 tires because of the amount of fuel they needed to add.
Yeah, they had run so many laps, they needed basically a full tank of fuel, so that takes so much time that they might as well put 4 on it. Logano, though, was kind of stuck back there 9th, 10th. They had to do something to try to make their race a little bit redder. Rutledge?
Steve, we see the guys down here resetting after that pit stop. Obviously, Ryan winning that stage. They're working on the gun right now. Over here, you can see the guys working on the tires. What's so cool about Ryan Blaney is we're seeing a lot of different sides of Ryan this year. Last week, we saw him down at Daytona when some fans asked him to sign something at his pool. Moments later, my man was just cannonball in there. Obviously, today, we're seeing that real game face side of him. He's running double duty. He wishes he could be running triple duty because up at Sharon Speedway in Ohio tonight, it's the Lou Blaney Memorial Sprint Race. A race he wishes he could be at, guys.
Yeah, we saw the tattoo on Ryan Blaney's chest. It was for his grandfather, Lou Blaney, who really got the family started in racing. And as Rutledge had just mentioned, that Lou Blaney Memorial Race is happening today, but Ryan not able to be there, but has definitely been inspired by not only his grandfather, but also his father, both involved heavily in racing.
Ryan Blaney's done a nice job getting to the front, and I applaud his crew chief, Brian Wilson. You know, Brian, they don't run very many races. This 12 car only runs a handful of races each year. It's actually, I spent some time in the garage, and it's fun to see all the different faces. This isn't a full-time team with specific roles. This is basically anyone in the shop that wants to come to the racetrack, that has a little bit of experience, come on out and help for the 4 or 5 races they run. They told me that their tire specialist, he builds side skirts in the fab shop. They taught him 2 weeks ago how to do tires. Hey, you could come to Kentucky. You could be our tire specialist. So it's a fun way to train new crew members, a fun way to come out and have fun, and Ryan Blaney's making it even more enjoyable by leading this race.
So, guys, I've been in the position too many times in my driving career that I was trying to get a lap back or stay in the lead lap. When I saw Matt Tifft battling to try to stay in the lead lap with Blaney, I misspoke. This battle for the start to the start-finish line is the official position. So you can see right here, Blaney beats him to the start-finish line. And although the caution comes out later in the lap, you are scored at the start-finish line. So you can see Matt Tifft was not ahead of Blaney. Therefore, Matt Tifft ultimately got the free pass, first car lap down, but did not stay in the lead lap.
It's one of those small nuances, Rick, that these stage ends are unique, right? They're not a caution. They're the end of a stage when people are scored. Those are all the details that NASCAR had to try to figure out, and I think they've done a remarkable job. We've had a few oddball situations with timing of cautions, but overall I consider it a success with all the moving parts that take place.
I want to listen into what Tyler Reddick and that team had to say. We listened into spotter communication.
Looks like he's getting tight to me in the middle of 1 and 2. It's the only place we're losing time. He's got an arc down in there like everybody else, so looks fine, but as soon as he gets to the middle, it's like he just shoots up and he's trying to, you know, slow it down too much to stay down on the line.
That was spotter coverage presented by Liberty Mutual Insurance, helping drivers worry less.
Rick, we talk about strategy, we talk about track position, we talk about all these complicated things. Well, now it's relatively straightforward. There's 104 laps to go in this race. Every single car on the lead lap must come to pit road at least one time for fuel. So really the only question is going to be where the yellows fall. And will drivers think tires are more important? Will they try to figure out a way to do something different on their fuel strategy? But everyone is required one pit stop. So now it's kind of man and machine. Line up and let's see which car is faster, Ryan Blaney or Eric Jones, as we see the lights come back on the pace car.
Yeah, and all these restarts, we've seen this in the XFINITY series because these cars do not have the power that a Cup Series car has. The car behind you has a great deal to do with how good of a restart you get. So look how this lined up. We have 2 Penske cars, one, you know, nose to tail, and we have 2 Gibbs cars nose to tail. I can guarantee you there'll be a lot of hand communications from the front car telling the lead car when to go to try to get a push. We talk about preferred lanes. What is the preferred lane? Well, the preferred lane is whatever lane has the best push. So right now, you line yourself up with the guy that you believe is going to give you the best push, and that's your teammate.
Look at the stage 2 points that were earned. Again, William Byron, Justin Allgaier, Tyler Reddick, and Brennan Poole, the only drivers that are full-time Xfinity Series drivers gaining points that were in the top 10. Marty.
Rick, Ryan Reed came in 3rd in the championship standings. We saw the accident on the very start of the race. What eventually did put you out, though, Ryan?
We had to bypass the oil cooler, and the oil was just getting too hot there. So we got a few more spots by fixing it up, and good job by the guys. We just it was just a tough deal. They took us down really slow, and I saw that they were checking up. They kind of took off, then checked up again, and I backed off, and yeah, looks like the 5 just kind of got into me. I don't know if someone got in the back of him, but took back tires off the ground, and once your back tires come up, you're at their mercy. So really unfortunate. Had a fast car. Once we went back out, we were running good lap times, but nothing we could do.
Again, big championship implications there, Rick.
Yeah, unfortunate for Ryan Reed. He starts the season with such momentum, winning at Daytona, but then the issues here is the lights come back on the pace car, so they're going to take him around at least one more time. I've been impressed as I look around at the groove. Remember, this is a repaved, as we see one car, the 4 of Ross Chastain diving to pit road, but the repave, normally you won't see a lot of rubber put down on the track, and the groove's very, very narrow. They did a great job of trying to help that process out and make it a little bit wider. This was a very late decision here.
Well, you mentioned that the lights come back on the pace car for a piece of debris, so the 4 thought that perhaps they were going to come into the green, and then when they figured out they weren't, a late decision to come to pit road.
Top it off with fuel, maybe get a little, a couple extra laps potentially.
You mentioned the rubber on the racetrack, and there was a tremendous amount of effort to get the rubber on the racetrack to open up the lanes, to give multiple grooves. The one thing we have not seen, though, is the emergence of a second lane. We've seen the entrance to the corners be wide. We've seen that, but we have not seen a car that can run in the second lane yet.
Really, I think the car we have seen the most success up high is that car who was actually on the high side in the 3rd row, and that's the 9 of William Byron. He had that battle earlier with Kevin Harvick, and perhaps he's going to try to use that upper lane here off this restart. Kelly?
Ryan Blaney will lead this field to green. Man, has this 12 car been strong as of late in the last 5 races, 4 wins. I talked to the crew chief, Brian Wilson, about it, and he just said actually it works to their advantage to be running part-time, and they've had 3 weeks to prepare for this. He's looking for a big push from his teammate here.
Got a little help from Logano, and they stay side by side for the lead. Eric Jones trying to surge ahead as they go down the backstretch, using that outside line. And we saw Ryan Blaney use a tactic that normally we only see at super speedways. He went over and side drafted him. Here comes 3 wide for the lead. Kyle Busch on the inside, Eric Jones in the middle, Ryan Blaney on the outside. 3 wide going into 1. Ryan Blaney checks up. Here comes the 9 of William Byron as well.
And this is where it's important to hold that inside position. The top lane of 1 and 2 seems to work. Not so well down here. Ryan needs to try to not overdrive it, leave himself a little bit of room on the outside of the 9. Very well done right there. He should clear the 9, I would think, down the front stretch.
Yeah, Ryan Blaney did not do a good job of that once he got back in the lead. He overdrove the entrance to turn 3 and just could not hold the bottom. Kyle Busch took advantage, got 2 spots, 2 for 1.
Here comes Kevin Harvick. He's trying to go to the inside of William Byron as well. Kyle Busch out front, Eric Jones running second, Blaney, William Byron, Kevin Harvick, Tyler Reddick. Here comes Elliott Sadler in the 1 on the inside of Joey Logano. This was how Kyle Busch fought for the lead.
See Blaney just way up the racetrack. He carried so much speed, he just couldn't hold the car on the bottom, and Kyle Busch now has a preferred lane on the bottom of 3 wide.
William Byron took advantage of that 3 wide situation. When you got 3 cars, and round goes to 2 of Paul Menard.
Heavy contact right there, Rick.
Back's pushed in. Not rolling yet. Yeah, rear end's knocked out of it.
Yeah, Paul Menard started to roll, and you could see it the way it was moving. He decided to stop. Doesn't want to drag any fluid on the track. The safety crew will get to him and take him back into the garage. He's running 10th. So now that is 3 RCR cars that have had issues and been involved in accidents today.
outside lane on top of his teammate. Just no grip there. He's trying to keep pace, trying to get in front of Daniel Hemrick, and just wasn't any grip.
Back on the gas right there on that outside.
No question. You're in the throttle, carrying a lot of speed, and we talked about that second groove. We just haven't seen it come in yet. And he's probably a little bit loose at the start of a run. If you're not loose on the start of the runs, on repaves especially, you're going to be way tight later in the run, probably a little looser than he wanted to be, and just trying to carry that speed.
Let's ride along with Matt Tifft.
Up top, inside. No caution, still green, keep coming.
It amazed me how early Matt Tifft had cracked the throttle there. He's looking so far ahead. I think that's sometimes we forget. At 170, 180 miles an hour, you can't look, 1 or 2 car lengths ahead like you might down a side street at 35 miles an hour. You have to look hundreds and hundreds of feet up in the distance. I think he knew the 2 was in trouble about just barely after poor Paul Menard knew he was in trouble. You heard him crack the throttle to make sure he knew which direction the 2 was going to go.
So Paul Menard will make his way to the infield care center to be checked out. They will grab the car, pull it into the garage, and we will get the restart when we come back. The Verizon IndyCar Series is on NBCSN. The Iowa Corn 300 from Iowa Speedway. That's tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. Eastern on that 7/8 mile track. They turn a lap there in 18 seconds. How fast they go. And they will be qualifying just after the race here for the Xfinity Series. We have a busy schedule continuing, though. It's a doubleheader. NASCAR America pre-race at 6, then countdown to green at 7. At 7:30, the green flag will fly once again from Kentucky Speedway for the Monster Energy Series. Post-race show at 11 and victory lap at 11:30. We're glad that you've joined us here on this Saturday afternoon from the Bluegrass State. Kyle Busch, Eric Jones. Kyle Busch trying to become probably the most dominant driver ever at Kentucky. He has won in virtually everything at this racetrack. A year ago, won from the pole, had the pole earlier, and now out front again. But 95 laps to go. There's still a pit stop that's going to come into play, and restarts. And we have seen that restarts have been a little bit difficult for the 18 and the 20 already today. Just behind them, William Byron running in the 4th position. Kelly?
Standing by with his crew chief, Dave Ellens. You guys in that 4th position. You got 3 Cup guys, though, ahead of you. Do you have the car and the driver to make some progress here on this restart?
Yeah, he's been doing a good job on all the restarts. He had an excellent one right there. We got a really fast Exalta Chevrolet, and I hope to see another good restart here, get up in the 1st or 2nd.
Right, thank you, Dave. Dave?
And with Jason Burdett now, who calls the shots for Justin Allgaier. Boy, he didn't like the car on that restart. Can you promise him it's going to get better?
Well, I think the next restart will at least be on the bottom, so that'll help a lot. Yeah, the restarts have been treacherous, as you can see, for everybody. The 2 just lost it right there on the outside. So we haven't seen that in a while. So, you know, I think our Hellman Chevrolet's been pretty good. We've had a solid day. Justin's done a great job, you know, running right there in the top 7 or 8. So we'll keep working on it, and hopefully we'll get it better.
Best of luck the rest of the afternoon. Rick?
Thank you, Dave.
And Rick, those 2 interviews just remind us of how Junior Motorsports, while Dale Jr. is the namesake of that company, right? It's his company. He shares that company with Rick Hendrick. Dave Ellens was a longtime engineer at Hendrick Motorsports. Jason Burdett was actually a car chief. They worked together with me on the 88. So this just proves how you try to cultivate talent. We talk about the Xfinity Series and the drivers and how they work the drivers up through, like William Byron. Where is he going to go next? Where is he going to end up? Well, it's also like that for the team members, not just pit crews, but engineers, crew chiefs. This is really the training ground. This is where you kind of make your mistakes, learn more about racing. So both of those crew members or crew chiefs gaining experience on Saturdays and doing a great job, running well together, sharing information really between those 2 and the crew chief of the 1, Junior Motorsports. They take the top 3 spots.
Marty.
Paul Menard out of the infield care center. That looked like a pretty hard shot. What happened?
I just lost it. We had a bad pit stop, kind of put us back there, and I tried to make something work on the outside, and the track's not ready to run that hard up there. So I just lost it and ruined a really good car. You know, all the guys on the 2 RCR, Richmond Water Heaters and our Chevy, did a really good job all weekend long. Had good long run speed, decent short run speed, and could come away with the top 5 for sure. The Gibbs cars were really quick. Disappointing though.
You got 400 miles tonight. You okay?
Oh yeah, we're good.
All right, all good for Paul Menard, and he'll still race tonight. 400 miles coming up for him this evening, Rick.
Thanks, Marty. Want to take a look at today's Toyota driver update. Kyle Busch and Eric Jones running 1 and 2. Then back in the 14th spot is Matt Tifft and Jeb Burton in 19.
So he mentioned he felt good and was ready to run 400 laps tonight, or 400 miles tonight, excuse me. 400 laps would be a heck of a race around Kentucky. I don't think you want to do that.
And talk about the track just not being ready, and you know, it's hard to even describe what that means. When the track gets ready, it's just, it has that rubber laid down on it. People have run that top groove, and once a few people start being able to run it, and this, what you just saw to Paul Menard doesn't happen, then other people can start running it. But now, you know, if you're in the motorhome or you're on a pit box, you just heard Jason Burdett say the 2 just lost it. That means he's communicated that to his driver. Everyone's going to be afraid to get there.
This was the start of the race. The official taps the honorary starter. Flag goes in the air, and everyone had bunched up behind race leader Kyle Busch. And so the wreck happened. Then later, it was Brendan Gaughan who cut a right front tire, got into the wall. He was involved in the initial accident that took place at the start.
Eric Jones did a really good job of battling for track position early in the race. Was able to keep that position and won the stage.
Well, you just saw that highlight of the competition yellow, and the 12 was the first car to come on pit road. They used that strategy, used that full tank of fuel to stay out at the end of stage 1 and win stage 2.
The other question mark was the track, and how would it progress as far as the rubber working into the track. And we just heard from the driver of the 2, Paul Menard, saying the track's not ready, or it wasn't ready for that move that he tried and just lost it and got up into the wall. That brings us to this restart with 91 laps to go as they get ready to head into the Geico restart zone. It's Kyle Busch and Eric Jones making up row 1. Kyle Busch on the inside, a good restart. Ryan Blaney also a very good restart, moves up on the inside, and he'll take second away from Eric Jones. Jones settles back into third. Here comes Kevin Harvick for fourth, and William Byron in fifth.
See Kevin Harvick right there wisely. He just stayed on the middle of the racetrack to take that groove away from William Byron. You see what that did to William Byron. He lost the front of his car, and now Joey Logano is making a move on him for that position.
We haven't talked much about this 22. It's kind of run mid-pack, mid-tier, just outside the top 5. We're going to have to see if they've made some improvements. Remember, only took 2 tires on that last caution. They seem to be working okay at the moment.
Tyler Reddick is now tucked up behind William Byron. And so it is Cup drivers filling the first 5 positions, and then William Byron, Tyler Reddick, Brennan Poole, Elliott Sadler, and Ty Dillon, the top 10.
mentioned Logano. It's clearly been a Kyle Busch, Blaney, Eric Jones show so far. Can Logano, have they made enough changes to their car to get better, to be able to get up there and run? We haven't seen Harvick have the speed to be able to run with them. Have they made the adjustments to be able to run in the front?
Nice move right here, the 23 of Spencer Gallagher. Got a nice turn off turn 2. I thought he was going to get to the bottom of the 21, that green car of Daniel Hemrick. He was unable to do it.
Cole Custer in the 0-0, also closing in. Cole Custer trying to chase down the 19 of Matt Tifft. And a lot of drivers hugging that yellow line, trying to stay down there, knowing that unless someone comes up and takes the air off of the spoiler, the back of these cars, it's very difficult to get another car off of that yellow line or to advance on the high side of the track.
This is the pass I think we've seen most of the day, is what the 98 just did right there with Casey Mears. That flat turn 3 and 4, we talk about how it's a difficult corner. Well, his car turned better. He had a much lower exit off turn 4 and was really relatively eased, drove underneath the 24 car.
24, Jeb Burton, he's 1 lap down right now. He's fighting to stay in that lead lap. Jeremy Clemens is in 21st. I don't see Jeremy in the screen. So right now, Jeb's just got to try to get distance between him and Jeremy Clemens.
And then catch a yellow.
And yeah, he has to get the caution to come out so that he can get the free pass, be back on the lead lap. Currently, there are only 19 drivers on the lead lap. That's the pace that we have seen out of the Kyle Busch, Ryan Blaney, and Eric Jones all running up front.
And sometimes those are breaks you need. You know, I don't call it luck because you have to put yourself in position for the free pass or things you have to do. But then at times you just need the break. You need the caution to come at the right time.
And you've been there. The intensity for this race is as big as it is for the lead. I mean, that's your whole day right there. So you're driving as hard as you can possibly drive. And in many cases, when you're back there running in 20th position, you're driving harder than the leader. Your car will not let you do what the leader's will, and it requires more driver input, more driver effort.
Want to go through the field? We'll start with Marty Snyder.
Up front, Kyle Busch right now. Remember that vibration we talked about? Turns out it might not have been an engine. It might have been a tire that was going bad on that 18 car. When they pulled off, they had a little bit of a tire issue. Nothing to be too concerned about. On that last stop, Kyle also asked for water and ice to cool him down a little bit. He certainly was cool on that restart a little while ago, grabbing the lead. Kelly.
Ryan Blaney has wins in both the Cup and Xfinity Series this season, and his crew chief Brian Wilson here told me the biggest difference he's noticed is confidence. He said Ryan is much more confident in asking what he needs, maybe just getting the weight off his shoulders with that Cup win has helped loosen him up, and he's back to enjoying racing again, and he's racing second position right now, Dave.
Eric Jones stayed out on that last opportunity to pit, Kelly. He was asked by his crew chief, is that vibration still there? And they think theirs is driveline related. Eric said, yeah, still there, but he's still running strong in third, Marty.
Kevin Harvick back in the 4th position. Talking to the team earlier this week, they said we certainly have an advantage with Kevin behind the wheel, but with this shortened schedule, you got to remember this is a brand new team at Stewart-Haas Racing. We don't have a ton of notes to fall back on, so they've been finding their way through the race here, making big adjustments on the car. In fact, you just went through 3 and 4. He said the car is awesome through 3 and 4. I don't think I've ever said that at Kentucky before. Kelly?
Joey Logano has 1 win this season in the Xfinity Series at Vegas, but he's won 3 out of his 4 starts here at Kentucky. Crew chief Craig Irwin just saying this team's really gone back to basics. Remember, he'll be one of those double-duty drivers tonight. When I asked him if he was ready for it, he said, yeah, if Blaney can do it, I can do it. Right behind him, you'll see the 9 of William Byron. This team's focus really has been on collecting more wins versus going for stage points. They said a couple of times this year they strategized for a stage win, but ultimately were put off strategy to go for a win at the end of the race. They're going for their 3rd straight win, Marty.
Tyler Reddick in the 7th position right now. He is the 2nd best among the Xfinity Series regulars. You know, talking to Mike Shipwood, his crew chief, he said we really use the stages to help him out. 1st and 2nd stage, want to get him comfortable. In the 3rd stage, that's where he needs to show what he's made of right now, trying to show what he's made of in the top 10, Kelly.
48 of Brennan Poole. This team has gone through a lot of changes in the offseason. It's really just Brennan, his crew chief, Chad Norris, and the spotter that remain from last year's group. He said that they're gelling together really well. They even did an escape room together on the road a few weeks back. He said hasn't taken too much time for them to get comfortable, and this team hopes to gel in victory lane at some point this season, Dave.
And Kelly, remember when the biggest complaint for Ty Dillon was track position? Well, the last time they had an opportunity to do something strategy-wise, they put 4 tires on it, and he's kind of right back where he was, now in the 8th position. We skip back to the 7 of Justin Allgaier. There he is. Wrecking loose was what he offered to his crew chief on the start of that last run. This run, too tight in the middle of the corner. It's hard to drive right now for Justin Allgaier in the 7, Marty. Davis' teammate Elliott Sadler just now fell back to the 11th position. He told the guys, hey, you finally got in the back end of the car underneath me. We talked about their rough weekend, just 17 laps of practice. That experience certainly coming through. Elliott told the team a little while ago, I'm just going to sit out here until I figure out something about this racetrack. Back for more of racing here at Kentucky in a moment. We'll go NASCAR nonstop. Kyle Busch still in the lead.
Welcome back to NASCAR Xfinity Series racing from Kentucky. The Alsco 300 being led by Kyle Busch. I'm sure we'll be talking about him on NASCAR America. And again, weekdays at 5 p.m. Eastern. And of course, on Wednesday will be the Hall of Fame show, where Eric Almirola will join us in the Hall of Fame as we look back a little bit further in the field. And Tyler Reddick, who is currently running just behind William Byron.
See Tyler Reddick trying to carry a lot of speed. Just gets in the wall a little bit. We have a caution on the racetrack.
And hearing that there might be some fluid on the track.
You see right here, he just free leaving the corner. Gets in the wall, scuffs the wall. But you think about Tyler Reddick, he's sharing this car with Kyle Larson, and this is his 4th race in a row. It's the first time he's had a chance to do that this year. He needs to be able to have seat time. We've seen him make speed in the Truck Series. We know he's a fast race car driver. He just needs a little more seat time. He's showing today, running in the top 10 consistently, that he's got that speed today.
You see Joey Gase going into the garage and the fluid coming out from underneath that 52. And it looks as though the engine may have expired right there. All right, crew chief, we have an issue. They're not close enough to be able to make it all the way. You had said the outside of the fuel window is around 62 laps, and there are 70 still to go.
Yeah, I think without a doubt you pit. You pit here. You put as much fuel in. If you have a rash of cautions, we saw restarts already be a struggle earlier today. If there's a crash right on the restart, you're gaining yellow flags. Every time you have a yellow flag, it's about 2 to 1. What I mean by that, it's very simple. You can run 2 laps under yellow for about as much fuel as it takes to run 1 under green. That's the simple math. That's how you gain time. And with pit road being closed right now, that's just get them 1 more lap closer to their window, Rick. So I expect to see all the teams on pit road. But with only 30-ish laps on their tires, 30 to 35 laps on their tires, the question would be how many do they take? I think you have to take right sides to keep track position.
19 still on the lead lap with pit road closed. Let's check in with Rutledge.
Rick, I'm right across the track from you guys over here just outside of turn 2. We are in Millionaire's Row. Talk about a view, you guys. Met some friends from Cincinnati. They've been camping out here every single year since the track opened. They've been over here loving it. But Steve, I got to ask you a question. So if in your mind you're playing that game right now and you're going, all right, there's 30 left, how many of these guys do you think take gas only and just hope they can stay out front right now?
Well, Rutledge, I think that's the idea of being efficient on pit road. You know, if you need 30-something laps worth of fuel, the amount of time it takes to put that fuel in, you can change 2 tires. So gas only doesn't gain you anything. And that's really the games these crew chiefs have to play, is when it is a fuel race and tires don't seem to matter, that doesn't mean you don't want to change them. That just means don't wait on tires. So if I need 7 seconds worth of fuel, you can put a couple tires on in 6 seconds, go ahead and put them on.
We've heard the strategy from our crew chief. Let's listen into the radio of the 18 and what they're thinking.
Some of the guys might come just to keep the track position later. How many are you short? 3 to 5. I think you got to. You put yourself in too big a box the other way. That's simple. Gotta come.
Simple as that. 3 to 5 short. And what he meant by too big of a box, if you stay out, you know, you're behind 30-something laps. If this thing goes green, you lose time. And look at the speedy dry on the backstretch. This is going to be an extended yellow. I think the leaders absolutely have to come to pit road. But once again, pit road is closed. So that's just making the decision, honestly, easier for the crew chiefs. The closer we get to the fuel window, the less of a risk you're really taking. And that is a lot of speedy dry. So this one's going to take a bit.
What about the possibility of when pit road opens, not coming to pit road initially and waiting until right before the restart so that you are closer to having enough fuel?
I think if you're towards the tail end of the lead lap, that's a great opportunity to gain a couple laps on the field. While you do give up some physical track position, you don't give up positions, but you give up physical track position because you're not allowed to pull up past the lap down cars. So there's a little bit of a negative, but I think it's a great point, Rick, when you look at the back half of the lead lap cars, whether that's Cole Custer 15th, Casey Mears 16th, Ben Kennedy 17th, maybe Ryan Sieg or Dakota Armstrong. Those are the types of ways you can steal a race or steal some positions. So that is what these crew chiefs have to do. You have to look at yourself and ask your engineer, what can we do to help our position? Sometimes it's as simple as maybe a couple miles more fuel than the leaders.
And they are working diligently on the backstretch. Once again, Joey Gase and the 52, the engine expires as he was coming out of 2. And put quite a bit of fluid down on the track, so they are going to clean that up. Pit road now is open, so we'll see how many decide to dive onto pit road this time by. We just heard from the 18. Eric Phillips has said, bring that car to me. It's the way to do it. That's the right strategy. So Kyle Busch in the 18 makes his way onto pit road, and we'll go to Dave.
Rick, here at Kentucky, Ruts campers have seen a lot of night races, not very many day races, and that was Eric Jones' quandary. When asked if the proposed adjustments would help, he goes, I'm not sure, because I've never raced here in the sun. 2 right side tires, Marty.
Dave, we heard the conversation on the 18 radio. The official call to Kyle Busch is puppy dog. That's going to be 4 Goodyear tires, and they're going to make a little bit of a change here. He said it was really close right there, Kelly.
Ryan Blaney's fired off loose, got a little bit tired. You see it was a 2-tire stop for the 12 car. Now there's the race off pit road.
It looks as though Eric Jones is going to be able to get in front of Ryan Blaney, Logano, Byron, and you see Kyle Busch lost 6 spots on that pit stop. Maybe trying to pack it too full of fuel. Plenty more from Kentucky Speedway throughout the afternoon and evening. NASCAR America pre-race at 6. Countdown to green. Krista, Kyle, and DJ at 7, 7:30. It's Monster Energy Series racing from Kentucky. The post-race show and victory lap following after that. Joe Gibbs Racing struggling in 2017 after having a very successful 2016, and they're looking to rebound, maybe right here at Kentucky.
The biggest victory of his career. Kyle Busch is a winner.
Kenseth will win again.
It's backflip time.
You have to think there's just a little thing missing there. For them not to be able to get in victory lane, it just boggles the mind.
We heard Parker mentioning there's something missing at JGR. Well, right now it's called wins. They have not been able to win in 2017. Kyle Busch, as far as points go, is looking fairly comfortable above the cut line, but no one is completely comfortable without a win. If you want to be in the playoffs, that's the way you lock yourself in.
Yeah, and it's different for each of the 4 teams. Daniel Suarez, obviously a rookie, so he's kind of getting his feet wet at the Cup level. But Kyle Busch has led a lot of races. It just doesn't seem like the last pit call or the last restart goes right for that team. The 11 has been up there, but then the story has unfolded even more for the 20 of Matt Kenseth, Jeff. Just this weekend in the media center, he lets the world know that he doesn't have a ride for next year. He doesn't think it will be back at Joe Gibbs Racing. I'm not sure if that explains the struggles, but that's one more layer to this complicated season for the whole Joe Gibbs camp.
Yeah, I don't think it explains why they haven't been running well, but when you aren't running well and you also have that on your shoulders, that makes it even that much more tough. But then you think about Joe Gibbs Racing from just a year ago. In a year's time, you're talking about losing Matt Kenseth and also losing Carl Edwards. That's 2 major talents in the sport. So Joe Gibbs Racing, things are changing quickly for sure. I will say this, going into tonight's race, when I look at practice speeds and I watch practice from yesterday, they have a real shot to get themselves in victory lane.
Let's go to Dave Burns.
JGR's Xfinity number 20 leads this race. Chris Gabart, 2 right side tires. Does that get it done for him?
Well, I think the tire part does. We'll need some cautions to get to the end on fuel. But Kentucky's so dependent on track position with its repave. Everybody's doing a good job on the Reese's Toyota Camry, but it's going to be a little iffy to end for everybody.
They have the clean air they want, Marty.
Eric Phillips is a crew chief for Kyle Busch. He will restart 7th. Why go with 4 tires there, Eric?
Yeah, we're just looking at the end of the race. There have been 110 to go on left sides. It's hot and slick as it is right now. I think it'll pay dividends at the end of the race, and it kind of opens us up. If another caution late, we can take 2 tires, and I think it's going to put those guys in a box to take 4. If not, we'll see. We got the guy in the box or driving it. We'll see what he can get done.
All right, let's see if 2 or 4 is the right call, Rick.
He's one of the best. Eric Jones, Ryan Blaney making up row 1. Green flag back in the air. Way down on the apron, Elliott Sadler trying to work his way past the 42 of Tyler Reddick, while that 20 of Eric Jones jumps out front of Ryan Blaney. How will the speedy dry affect the handling these first few laps? Those tires get very warm. Pick that up as they go into 3 and 4, and it's 4 wide now for position.
Be careful down there on that bottom. It's really rough. We've seen several incidences happen because you hit that bumps. They all worked out.
Cole Custer just on the outside of 24. Jeb Burton. Jeb Burton was able to get the free pass under this most recent caution. Back onto the lead lap. Harvick to the inside of Reddick.
Oh, that's close.
You heard him gingerly get back on the throttle as they were coming out of turn 4, knowing that that car was on his outside. As now Matt Tiff tries to get by Reddick as well. So different going through 1 and 2. You can hear him mash the throttle because they've got the banking there, but in 3 and 4, not as much banking. Brennan Poole able to skirt just in front of Jeb Burton. William Byron still in front of the 18 of Kyle Busch. And again, after Kyle Busch changed 4 tires, that made him have quite a bit of work in front of him to try to get back toward the front.
And Rick, we heard Eric Phillips' theory. He wanted to have fresher left side tires in case there's a caution late and they bunch up the field. But we can't say enough about the Xfinity regular back-to-back winner William Byron. He's out here battling with guys that run for championships on Sunday. A champion behind him with Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, who has yet to win a championship, but he's been at that position in Miami. These are 2 veterans, 2 superstars of the sport, and he's right here holding his own.
And with Dale Jr.'s retirement announced, you have to wonder, are we going to see this on Sundays next year? Right. Are we going to see William Byron potentially driving that 88 car?
I've never seen a year, or never can I recollect a year where so many big Cup rides are open. The 20 of Matt Kenseth, the 88. There's some rumor about what Brad Keselowski's doing with his contract. Eric Jones is in the mix. That directly affects this series because that's why these young drivers are here, are trying to make a name for themselves to give them the opportunity to race on Sunday.
Kelly.
And I talked to William Byron about racing against these Cup guys here in the Xfinity Series, and he said it definitely matters who's in the car. You have to have a fearlessness that you can compete with guys like Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch. You know, if you make a mistake, they'll be all over you, but you have to know that you can rub elbows with them and at the same time get their respect. You got to show these guys that you're a guy who's going to be around for a while, and I'd say William Byron is doing a fine job of that today.
Yeah, Kelly, William Byron, when you talk to him outside the race car, he is a very polite, very mannered young man. He is, I don't want to say timid, but very reserved. When he puts that helmet on, he has a completely different personality. He shows no fear. He's smart but fearless. He really is the combination you're looking for in someone that will drive that car in a hole, in a tight hole, and put it in there, but at the right time. He's learned at a high rate. Remember, he got his start at Junior Motorsports in a late model car several years ago. So back home, really, at Junior Motorsports.
Well, right now, Rick, He's a problem for Kyle Busch because Kyle Busch changed 4 tires, 57 to go. As these laps continue to wind down, Kyle knows he needs to start breaking through traffic because as he battles the 9, Eric Jones and Ryan Blaney, the 2 leaders, kind of stretch out there. And remember, they pitted a little short on fuel as he makes a nice move to the bottom of William Byron. That's what we talked about, the flatter end of the racetrack. He got through there, got to the bottom of that. What I was saying is if you give those leaders a head start, we talk about being short on fuel, but they can use that head start to now lift early and save a little gas. So there's a chess match going on. Kyle Busch knows he needs to get up there.
Yeah, you mentioned a nice pass by Kyle Busch. You know, Kyle Busch obviously has a little bit quicker car, but I want you to pay attention to what Kyle Busch does here. Look how he's turned early. You know, he's not following William Byron. He turns early and gets to that yellow line first. Now he's got William in a compromising position because now he's stacking that air underneath the 9 car, almost like underneath the door, beside the door. Now it's harder to get that 9 car to turn to get it to the bottom. So you could see Kyle Busch saw that as an opportunity, turned the car a little bit early, got to the bottom, then William Byron just could not get there with the speed he needed to carry.
And Kyle Busch has gained spots now up to 4th from taking those 4 tires that we've talked about. Fuel, obviously a concern. We've talked about that. Just checked in with Eric Phillips. He feels like they're about a half lap short. Steve, you called it. That elongated caution really opened the window for everyone. Behind him, Kevin Harvick started right beside him with 4 fresh tires. He kind of fell back a little bit. How are they on fuel? Take a listen.
I think we'll get better mileage with this old Ford. Just tell me what you need when we go back to green as far as laps. Also tell me, figure in how early I need to let off or how many laps to save what you need under green. 10-4. We're working on it now.
And the final calculation was they are about 3/4 of a lap short for that 41 car. And Jeff, that's the advantage of having a Cup Series driver behind the wheel. When you're a lap short, they can kind of save that for you during a run because they have that savvy of when to save fuel and how to do it and still make lap time.
That's correct, Marty. And the key to all that is the information now. Don't give me that information with 30 to go. Hey, you need to save a lap. I need that information right now so I can manage the race. I can manage the segment. Essentially, the only thing you got to worry about now is how many laps are left, and you manage that from the first lap.
There goes Kyle Busch, able to get by Joey Logano. And so now Kyle Busch has moved up into the 3rd position and continues to march toward the front. We go NASCAR nonstop from Kentucky. A week from today, the Xfinity Series will be on the flat Loudon, New Hampshire track. The Magic Mile, that race coverage begins at 4 p.m. Eastern on NBCSN. 47 laps to go, now 46 for Eric Jones. The question for everyone up front is, have they saved enough, or have they started to save fuel? Because they were just outside of the fuel window when the caution came out, and a lot of teams and drivers are already thinking about how they can save enough fuel to get to the end.
Yeah, when you look at the top 10 on the left side of your screen, there's a variety. As we see a pass right here for Kevin Harvick, and the reason that's happening is because he has those 4 tires. You see other cars on 4 tires, the 18 of Kyle Busch, the 21 of Daniel Hemrick. Well, 4 tires not only gives them a little more grip, but it also might actually get them a little more fuel. Just the way the car sits with 4 tires and kind of jacks up on both sides, it gets all the air out of the fuel cell. That might be an advantage. But Jeff, as a driver, this is always difficult. I know it was difficult on top of the pit box because I wanted to tell you to save fuel, but with 45 to go, I also didn't want you to not try to pass if you thought you could get a position. It's that cat and mouse game. If you could tell me if a yellow's coming out, I could tell you exactly what to do.
Yeah, what you have to decide is, how good is my car? What can I really reasonably expect from the day, and then drive accordingly. Like Kevin Harvick hasn't shown the speed to beat the top 3 or 4 cars, so maybe he saves a little fuel in hopes that everybody else has some sort of problem.
And you know, Jeff, it was interesting because Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick started right beside each other. We mentioned that a moment ago. Harvick dropped back immediately. You could tell he was sort of saving fuel as we watched the battle a little bit further up front. And Harvick asked the team a moment ago, is everybody now good on fuel? Because he felt like he was, and they told him go. And obviously he started picking up positions. Meanwhile, Kyle Busch up front is in 3rd. I don't think he saved fuel at all during this run, and they're still a half lap short, but he's trying to get up front as far as he could. I think Kyle Busch's strategy, Jeff, was get as much track position as I can. Once I kind of settle out, then I'll start worrying about saving fuel. Harvick did it on the front end of the run.
Yeah, Marty, what makes it so difficult as well is, what if we go green, you know, for the next 40 laps, 39 laps, and the caution comes out late and no one's going to pit because you can't make up enough track position? Well, if you sat there and rode around, now you don't have the opportunity to win the race because you didn't attack when you could have attacked. And by the way, on the restart is when the opportunity is there to get as many spots as possible because everybody's bunched up. So these are calculations that the drivers have to make based on how their car drives and when it drives well, and hope they guess right.
Well, as we jump on board the Ford Performance camera in the 12 of Ryan Blaney, we're going to see not only are we talking about fuel, but Ryan Blaney is thinking, forget fuel, I want to go get a win, but it's all about the bottom of your screen. You see that RPM? You see those green lights? That means he's in the throttle. The only way drivers can save fuel is you have to be either in the throttle less or use less brake. You know, it has to, somehow you have to save fuel. It's very hard to do that and make lap time. So as we ride on board with Ryan Blaney, Jeff, if you're the driver here, what are you thinking in a place like Kentucky to save fuel?
Well, I personally think I want to get in the lead, because maybe I can save fuel later with the lead, because aerodynamically I can mess with the guy in front that's behind me. So I think this is a tough spot. If I want to just save fuel, I just think you have to lift earlier. You just stay off the throttle. You just lift earlier. Do not use any brake, which the thing is, these cars don't use much brake anyway. And just carry as much rolling speed as you can possibly carry through the middle of the corner with as little throttle input as possible.
I think with 40 to go, Rick, I like what Jeff's thinking about getting the lead. You don't know if you're going to have enough or another opportunity this close to the leaders. You see the 20 runs a little high up the racetrack. The 12 of Ryan Blaney turns off lower.
Yeah, I don't think either one of these two guys is riding right now. I think they have to be pushing. We've seen the lead matters. We've seen being in front on the restart, picking your lane matters. And I think that's what these two guys have to focus on. Big move right here.
Here comes the 12 of Ryan Blaney. Gets close to the back bumper of Eric Jones. Can he get him a little loose? That's the way we have seen some passes made already. Taking the air off of that spoiler.
He just stays longer on that yellow line, meaning his car turns better. He has a better drive off from turn 4. We've seen it again. He gained a couple car lengths on the other end of the racetrack. I think he needs to just try to maintain down here and look to make a pass on the other end, but lap traffic could come into play.
Now we're seeing the 11 of Blake Cook. Has some damage to the back of that car. And Blake Cook is going to try to come down the track a little bit, and while he does that, it sends him up the track because Eric Jones was there. And the gap closed a little bit more.
But a little small thing right there. Blake Cook giving them the bottom of the racetrack is the right thing to do. You hear, well, the drivers need, the lap cars need to get out of the way. Where do you get out of the way? Giving them the preferred lane, that was the right thing to do. Drives me crazy when it's a one groove racetrack and a lap car gives you the top. That makes no sense whatsoever.
And now, Jeff, if you're Eric Jones, are you in your mirror at all, or are you all out the windshield? Does it matter where the car behind is running? Last week at Daytona, we saw it was all about blocking the runs in the draft. Here at Kentucky, does it just matter where you put your car, or are you concerned with that other driver?
I definitely in my mirror. I'm not in my. What you do is you drive in the corner. You're doing everything you can right now. Eric Jones, he is not looking in the mirror at all. Once he gets out on the straight and he knows everything's good, he's going to glance. You have to glance because you may have to defend. You may have to do something to prevent the 12 car from passing you. So you can't ignore him. You have to be looking.
Think it's 35 to go, Rick. It's not 5 laps that Eric Jones needs to defend this position. There are a ton of laps left in this race.
And while these two continue to fight for the lead, Kyle Busch is 2 seconds back in third, looking to win again at Kentucky. Joey Logano back there in fourth. William Byron trying to make it 3 in a row, his first 3 wins coming consecutively. He's currently 5th and has quite a bit of talent in front of him. Little wiggle there out of the 12 of Ryan Blaney as he runs second. We'll go NASCAR nonstop.
Back at Kentucky Speedway, Kyle Busch stays out. Eric Jones, one of the cars that pits, 2 right side tires for him. A little Sunoco fuel and a little bit of an adjustment. Kelly?
Now you see Ryan Blaney in the 12. It's just going to be a 2-tire stop for Ryan, who said he was a little bit free. He was just struggling to get around. He said it's a 1-lane racetrack. What do you want me to do? And there you see William Byron has also completed service along with Daniel Hemrick and Elliott Sadler in the 1 car.
And you all saw the caution come out. It was for the 07 of Ray Black Jr. He was coming off of pit road. And as he stays down on the apron for an extended period of time, he actually spins coming off of turn 2 and gets right down next to the wall.
So I know that looks silly, but I'm telling you, that is very, very rough on the very bottom of the racetrack on the apron, and it's narrow as well. And in the NBC Toyota car yesterday, I almost did the same thing.
Did you?
Yep, you couldn't see me, so I never told you.
I was going to say, if you could have done that, that would have made for great television. You should do that one time. Just don't hit anything.
So, we have a different race right now.
Absolutely.
Things have changed. That caution really changed. Most people came. I think it shocked us that many people came, Steve.
And a violation on pit road for the 12 team of Ryan Blaney, who was racing up in the top 2 pretty much the entire race. Now has a pit road penalty.
Yeah, that's it's disheartening because with only 31 laps to go, it's going to be very, very difficult, next to impossible, to try to get up and get that track position. So we see here they're changing 2 tires. As we see the right side tires come off, the rule is these tires that come off the car must be controlled and must go back to the left side of the pit box before the car leaves. Clearly the right front tire is outside of the car. It has to be returned. And that rule's for a reason. Teams were leaving those tires out there in other competitors' way. So that rule is there for a good reason, but an obvious violation for the 12. But as you were saying, Jeff, this caution has broken up everything we talked about. I think fuel is no longer an issue, but there is some different strategies on when and should you come to pit road and for how many tires.
So Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick, they both stayed. They felt like the best opportunity to win this race was to stay. I think Kevin Harvick was an easy decision. He hadn't shown the speed. Everybody in front of him pitted. Why not get track position and come out in second?
And the call for Kyle Busch was made immediately. They said, nope, we're going to stay out no matter what. They actually had called Kevin Harvick to pit road. He made that call from behind the wheel. He saw everybody else pitting. He said, I'm going to stay out here. Why not? We'll see if those 36-lap older tires will play a factor here or not. But 2 of the best in the business will restart on the front row. Well, this is going to be a fun one, no doubt about it.
Well, Marty mentioned the older tires. Well, here's what you have. We heard the 18. We talked to Eric Phillips, the crew chief, and he said he took 4 tires at lap 132 specifically for this yellow. It left him opportunity, left him options. He took advantage of that opportunity, stayed on the racetrack, is now the leader. Kevin Harvick did the same. These 2 actually have to be happy to see the 12 have that penalty because he was a very dominant car, one that has showed speed. So now really I think their biggest concern has got to be the 20 of Eric Jones, don't you think, Jeff? He's the one that has showed speed to keep up with the 18 most of the day.
Oh, yeah, I think Eric Jones. But don't forget Ty Dillon. Ty Dillon has drug himself up. Remember he had that problem early in the race, and now he has just ground his way into being in 5th place right now. I don't think he's shown that speed, but I just feel like anytime you've collected yourself and found your way back to the front after some troubles early, that makes you a threat.
Gamesmanship always coming into play when you decide if you're going to come to pit road or not. Look at how close it was for Kyle Busch.
Yeah, late decision. You see Harvick, we heard from Marty saying that he was told to pit, and he looks up, and everybody in front of him is pitting. He's like, hey, I don't think I have a fast enough car to win this race in an even match, so let's get ourselves off sequence. Let's do something different. I love that call. You're a Cup driver. You're not racing for points. Go for it.
Jeremy Clements in the 51. Looks as though that car not rolling on pit road. Dave.
And as for Eric Jones, crew chief Chris Gabehart, there were 2 advantages he wanted to give him.
So the situation is you versus him. You got 24 laps older lefts than him, but 30 laps newer rights. Time to go get it. And he's going to be close on fuel. Obviously, we're not. We're good to go. Yeah, simple.
The newer rights, and they got plenty of fuel now, guys. What do you think?
Oh, I like it. I like the sales job, giving him all the advantages he had. We're not talking about the disadvantages. Let's just talk about the advantages.
And it's you versus him, and that him being the all-time win leader in the Xfinity Series. So get you some of that, go beat that guy.
Yeah, and both of the guys in front of him are Cup champions. They've got that going for them as well. But go get him. Go get him, Eric.
Well, and Jeff, so you mentioned the 3 of Ty Dillon and the job he's done to recover back there in row 3. Well, look just outside of Ty, that 21 of Daniel Hemrick. We haven't talked about him a lot all day because he's really done all the right stuff. He hasn't put himself in a bad position, hasn't really slid a tire. He's doing a really nice job, just having a good, solid day. He has good points, 130 above the cut line, and you see in the realm of full-time Xfinity drivers, he's leading the pack right now, but as you can see, they're stacked up behind him. Byron, Sadler, Custer, Tift, and Allgaier all right here between 6th and 11th.
Yeah, remember this Eric Jones-Kyle Busch potential battle that we have coming. The reason Eric Jones is here in this position is because in 2012, Eric Jones beat Kyle Busch at the Snowball Derby, and Kyle Busch said that guy right there can drive. So this battle has been very, very fruitful for Eric Jones.
The Snowball Derby, late model race that's run down in Florida that It was where we've seen many drivers shine, and one of those being Eric Jones. They come to the Geico restart zone. 28 laps to go. Another great restart. Kyle Busch had Eric Jones right behind him, and now Eric Jones on the inside of the 41. Can he get by him? Kevin Harvick fighting back on the outside. Eric Jones clears him going into 3.
That's exactly what Eric Jones needed to do. He needed to get out in front of that other car and older tires of Kevin Harvick. Now it's just him and Kyle Busch. He can focus, set his sights ahead. There's still 27 laps to go.
Joey Logano on the outside of 3 of Ty Dillon. Ty Dillon with an impressive run today. Trying to break into that top 4. Logano, though, still having the advantage running that higher line. Logano learning a lot for the 400 miles he's going to be racing later this evening, as well as Ty Dillon.
And Rick, I talked to Joey Logano. That's exactly why he's in this race car. He said that Joey and Brad Keselowski sit down at the beginning of the year. These are not sponsor obligations. They split this entire schedule up in this 22 car based on where they want to be in the car, what tracks they want to run. He said it's like a fantasy football draft. You take a track, I take a track. You take a track, I take a track. And this is a track he wanted more laps at.
And Ty Dillon had cleared him. Now Logano on the inside, coming back, trying to get that position back. He takes to the apron to try to gain a little advantage, but Ty Dillon keeps the momentum up on the high side, and he clears that 22.
And William Byron almost got into the back of the 22 Logano and had to lift, slowing himself more than he really wanted to slow, and that allowed Cole Custer to get underneath him.
A little bit of a wiggle running out in that second line for William Byron. Under 25 laps to go.
Custer
24 now.
Custer protected all he could. He ran the 21 of Hemrick basically to the apron, but Daniel kept pushing the issue and got inside the doubles. There was a nice move.
It's a great battle. It's fun to watch these guys. Just an update, Kyle Busch, he's out by a pretty good amount on Eric Jones, so we're going to focus on this. This is the fun racing.
Remember, you got to think about the fact that Kyle Busch probably thinks he has enough because of those caution laps, but he could still be in a possibility of running out of fuel. So we'll keep our eye on that, if he has to push it or not. Again, Ty Dillon just in front of the 22 of Joey Logano.
And behind Logano is this long string of single file cars, and at the back of that is this guy right here, Ryan Blaney in the 12, just had that pit penalty. He's trying to make me eat my words. I told him there would be no way he could recover from that penalty, but he's already driven it back inside the top 10.
And guys, the Xfinity Series championship leader Elliott Sadler going backwards, getting passed by a host of cars. He just radioed the team, what did we do to this car? And Kevin Mandering said, we didn't really make any big changes to it. And he asked if there's something wrong with the tires, but something wrong with the championship leader falling backwards right now, just trying to hang on to it for these final few laps at Kentucky.
His last Xfinity Series win was here last September in the first ever Xfinity Series playoff race.
That's so frustrating, Steve. You and I have been on both sides of that, where you really don't make much of a change, and the driver's like, this thing's horrible, and the crew chief's like, well, I don't know what I did. And the driver, he knows that the crew chief's telling him the truth. It's just something's different, and the car doesn't drive as well, and you just got to refocus and just pay attention to what you have and understand the race is coming to an end, and just forget about it, quit screaming, quit yelling, just focus on your job.
The opportunity is also dwindling now as we're getting closer to the playoffs. And still only 3 full-time Xfinity Series drivers have won this year. William Byron twice, Justin Allgaier once, and Ryan Reed once. Elliott Sadler, though, with a comfortable number of points above the cut line. 12 make the playoffs in the Xfinity Series. As Ryan Blaney makes another pass, and Blaney continues to move up. Kelly.
In fact, Rick, he has gained 12 spots since that restart. Now, since they were already going to be penalized by going to the tail end of the longest line, they decided to bring that 12 car back down pit road to put the 2 left side tires on and make a small adjustment to it as well. So he's out there with 4 fresh Goodyears.
And guys, you see Blaney going through, and it sort of backs up what we heard, the vibe in the garage area as we discuss things with the crew chiefs. Penske, very good right now in this series. As for Junior Motorsports, RCR, they're playing a little bit of catch-up. And the 7 crew chief, Jason Burdett, told me, we're really not wrong with anything we're doing right now. We just don't have the same speed. Justin got 4 tires on that last pit stop, and just lacking a little speed right now, Rick.
Well, and Rick, you know, each week we nominate some pit crew members, be all-star pit crew members for NBC. Well, Brian Wilson, the crew chief on top of the 12 box, part-time crew chief, doesn't run a full schedule. He's putting in an all-star performance. He was very creative with his pit strategy earlier, got the track position and the win for this 12 car. Now they had a tire violation. Really nothing you can do about that except for try to recover, and he has given Ryan a spectacular race car. Paying attention, as Kelly just said, putting those fresh left side tires on it, and Ryan Blaney really making the most of it.
He is making the most of it, and look, he's not going to win this race if it goes back green, but what he is doing, if you get that caution, he's now worked himself into row 3 on the restart. So if he could get 2 more cars with the speed that he has, if he could get those 2 cars in front of him and the caution come out, he would restart in row 2. That would give him a real shot to win this race.
And I will go to victory lane and tell him that I was 100% wrong on air, and he proved it from the back to the front in 20 some odd laps.
One thing that may come into play, NASCAR is looking for fluid on the track. There are some drivers that are mentioning they think that Brennan Poole in the 48 might be putting some fluid down, as we see the 14 just behind that 48, and there's not a lot of cars moving around behind him.
He's obviously having some sort of an issue.
Well, and Rick, that's how it works. You know, NASCAR has spotters, but nobody knows it better than the drivers on the racetrack, as Ryan Blaney easily passes his teammate of Joey Logano. So as they scan the radios, if they start hearing noise about it, they're going to inform their spotters around the racetrack to pay closer attention, see if there's anything specific. Sometimes even look at the rear bumper to see if it's starting to get dark where that oil may accumulate on the 48.
Talk about those issues for the 48. Brennan Poole saying that the motor is skipping. He said all the gauges are normal. We're switching to the second battery. Also trying to turn off all the fans. The team just telling Brennan, just write it out. There's really nothing we can do, but we'll be keeping an eye on that 48.
As are all of the drivers on the track right now, thinking those that
skip it. It's just real slow, no power. The oil temperature gauge isn't working. But the pressure is at like 80.
those that want a caution, they think there's fluid on the racetrack. Those that don't want a caution, like Kyle Busch, he says no, it's clear. There's no fluid on this track.
That's why NASCAR, they want to listen to the competitors, but they can't. The competitors have so much at stake, and they're not exactly objective. So NASCAR listens, but they can't necessarily believe.
Oh, if I was a crew chief of the 12 right here who's continuing to pass cars, Rick, I could see the fluid from pit road without a doubt. I would be telling them I can see it.
Yeah, Ryan Blaney just went by Ty Dillon, so Blaney up to 4th after coming to pit road a second time to put on left side tires after a tire infraction on pit road, put him to the back of the longest line.
Jeff, even if Ryan doesn't go on to win this race, finally got that Cup Series win this year, earlier this season, this run towards the front has got to help him feel good about tonight's race, kind of have an idea what the car needs to feel like to be successful.
Oh, and listen, you always want to win every race, but you pull every bit of success out, and he'll talk about how much fun this was. I mean, it is fun when you get to the back and you get to pass everybody. That's a load of fun. It's not as fun as winning, but it is, for a driver, that competitive spirit, being able to start in the back, get by these guys with a fast race car, that does energize you.
Let's take a look at the speeds of the line. Just saw Kyle Busch go by at 174. Harvick. Now look at Blaney, 175. Full mile an hour faster than anybody else on the track. And if there was more time, Ryan Blaney could become a factor. But now just under 11 laps to go for Kyle Busch, unless a caution were to come out and they get a restart. Right now Blaney is still 4.8 seconds behind Kyle Busch. He closes in now on Kevin Harvick.
I mean, the math works out that he's going to be within about a second of Kyle Busch if he can continue to pick up 4 5/10 of a second a lap. But unfortunately for Ryan Blaney, he's going to slow down a little bit. Although look at Kevin Harvick, I know you're coming, man. I'm just going to just go ahead.
And
see if you can run Kyle Busch down.
And I
Such
heard
a
a thank
class
you.
act.
I heard a thank you there out of Brian Blaney.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you can't win the race. You're not racing for points. He took a gamble to get this track position because he's not racing for points, and so he returned that. You know, that's a class act. That's how drivers show each other respect.
So Blaney now about 4 seconds behind Kyle Busch with 9 laps to go. Kyle Busch is out in front. He led from the pole. He's also going to be starting on the pole tonight in the Monster Energy Series. Countdown to green at 7 and racing at 7:30. Amazingly, as strong as Kyle Busch is here, a driver has never won a Cup race and an Xfinity race in the same day. This doubleheader potentially could give Kyle Busch that option. Marty.
Rick, it's not over yet. Kyle Busch just came on the radio, said 7,400 again. What that means is, remember earlier in the race, he said he had a vibration around 7,400 RPM. He thinks it's the engine or maybe the driveline, but the last time he said that, it was actually a tire. So there's a little concern there might be a vibration and a tire possibly going bad on this 18 car. We'll see if it can hold on for 7 more laps and get him to victory lane.
The other thing we have to remember is he last came to pit road on lap 132. That would be 68 laps on a tank of fuel. Now, there were some caution laps in there where he didn't come to pit road to fill up, but there is still the possibility that he could run out of gas.
Without a doubt, we've seen crazier things happen. As Ryan Blaney got into the second position, the 18 at Kyle Busch closes in on lap traffic very quickly. This lap traffic could come into play. There's a few more cars ahead of him as he comes around, about 6 to go still.
Currently on the lead lap, 21 cars. Kyle Busch has a 1.3 second lead over Eric Jones. It's only 2.6 seconds back to Ryan Blaney, the fastest car on the track. Blaney still running laps about a half a second faster than what Kyle Busch is running. With under 5 laps to go, that would put Blaney very close to the back bumper of Kyle Busch on the last lap. They're having to negotiate through the lap traffic about at the same time. The difference now, 2 seconds. Kyle Busch, Eric Jones, Ryan Blaney, the top 3.
This is making a few crew chiefs rethink their strategy for tonight. Seeing this car, Ryan Blaney, with new tires mow the field down, I think that surprised me, and I think it surprised a lot of people.
I hit you when you were trying to talk there, because as I was watching Ryan Blaney work through lap traffic, the lap car did just what you said and didn't give him a lane. Drove down into turn 3 right in the lane that Ryan Blaney needed.
And we've seen Kyle Busch have to negotiate and almost thread the needle through lap traffic to keep the momentum up. And again, you have to wonder, is it in the back of his mind, could we be close on fuel? I have a 1.2 second lead over Eric Jones. Should I be backing off a little bit to make sure?
Because Ricky doesn't even have to run out. Maybe it just stumbles just a little bit off one corner. You know, that cushion's gone. If it stumbles, these next 2 cars will be on top of him.
Kyle Busch, Eric Jones, Ryan Blaney, 1, 2, and 3. This time by, he will see the white flag. One more time around at Kentucky. That's 1 lap to go. Sponsored by Credit One Bank. Eric Jones, a valiant effort today, as has been with the 12 of Ryan Blaney. He makes the pass. He's going to try to get by Eric Jones going down the backstretch for the final time. That's a fight for second. While he does clear him, Ryan Blaney now the closest car to the 18, but it's not close enough. Kyle Busch comes out of turn 4. He's going to win at Kentucky again.
Good job, Eric. Thank you, guys. Woo! Thank you, job today. Good job, pit crew, everybody.
Kyle Busch, Ryan Blaney, Eric Jones, Kevin Harvick, Ty Dillon, the top 5. See the 6 through 10 on the top of your screen. William Byron, the run for 3 wins in a row. Your first 3 wins fall short today, but he has to feel pretty good about the fact that the guys in front of him all race normally on Sundays. All Cup drivers in front of him: Kyle Busch, Ryan Blaney, Eric Jones, Kevin Harvick, Ty Dillon, Joey Logano. In front of William Byron, as once again we see Kyle Busch, who has done this so many times. A record 88 wins for Kyle Busch in the Xfinity Series. And he blows out the rear tire. Was climbing out of the car as the left rear tire blew. Kyle Busch will do his customary bow to the crowd after he grabs the checkered flag. And let's go down to Marty.
Kyle Busch taking the helmet off the car, wants to come off the banking, and you should see all the rubber that's here on the racetrack. And up close and personal for the bow for Kyle Busch to the fans. Car wants to go down the racetrack, Kyle. How key were those 4 tires, and how key were restarts today, Kyle?
It was pretty big. You know, the 4 tires certainly meant a lot for us there when we were coming back up through and trying to catch those guys, and then it gave us the opportunity to stay out there on that caution where those guys came in and pitted. So can't say enough about Eric Phillips and all these guys on this NOS Energy Drink Camry. It's the rowdy scheme, so that's pretty cool. We appreciate NOS letting us do that, and all the fans, appreciate all your guys' support. Appreciate y'all coming out here this morning. Hopefully all of you stay around here for tonight and watch a rowdy doubleheader.
You hear the fans cheering for you. I got to say, that's an impressive layout of rubber there on the burnout, Kyle.
There wasn't much rubber left on them. I just gave it everything that they had left for me. But yeah, it's fun to come out here and to race in the Xfinity Series. I appreciate Xfinity and Joe Gibbs Racing Engines, Interstate Batteries, NOS Energy Drink, M&M's for letting me do this. So we have a lot of fun. We enjoy it, but you know, it's all about tonight.
I think these fans are going to stick around for tonight. We'll see you in Victory Lane.
They should.
All right, Kyle Busch going to head to Victory Lane. And Rick, I think you saw the rubber that he laid down. That's impressive. That left rear completely gone on this 18 car.
He blew it out. And once again, the reason he is the record holder as far as wins, because he's just that good. Kyle Busch gets the win, his 88th career win. Could he become the first driver to ever sweep a Cup race and Xfinity race on the same day? We'll see him at Victory Lane next. as Kyle Busch continues to make his way into victory lane. He will be able to celebrate with his team. And it was the last second call of him making the hard right turn and not following everyone onto pit road that got him the track position and eventually the win. Krista.
Rick, Kyle Busch sitting in the car here in victory lane. Yeah, that right or left rear tire is completely gone. We're going to get Kyle out of the car so we can talk to him again. This is something he's very used to, winning in the Xfinity Series. His second win in 5 starts this season. His second in a row here at Kentucky. As we said, very familiar place for Rowdy and the Xfinity Series here at Kentucky. Kind of deja vu. You did this from the pole last year, too.
It's certainly nice to get to victory lane anytime you can. So, you know, it's been a heck of a year on the bad front for us. So it would certainly be nice to have this as a little bit of a turnaround. You know, our Toyota Camrys have been really fast all year long, and this NOS Energy Drink Camry, it's the first time we've gotten the Rowdy scheme to victory lane. So I appreciate my buddy Dale Averill and designing this thing and helping me get it to look so good. And then, of course, you know, Joe Gibbs Racing Engines, the race fans, of course, we appreciate them, and DVX, Cessna, and Xfinity as well. So it's fun to have the opportunity to run in this series. I enjoy it. I like running as much as I can. Just gives me a little bit better for the nighttime, for the big races on Sunday, obviously, but tonight being a Saturday night one.
So let's talk about that. What did you learn out there today that you're going to apply tonight?
I think the biggest thing was just line selection and how the restarts were, and then of course too how the runs progressed and how the tires kind of wore on. You know, there was a lot of fall off, more fall off than I expected. It is a day race, so that'll probably get better tonight, but you know, the way the groove kind of came in or went away from restarts and stuff like that too. So got a few ideas here to hopefully help us out tonight.
And how do you feel? You ready for 400 more miles?
Yeah, I feel okay right now. So hopefully I can continue to get some more fluids in me, and then maybe take a nap. I don't know. We'll see what Brexton's schedule looks like, and then I'll nap with him. Otherwise, we'll get back ready and have at it tonight.
All right, sounds good. His third Crosley jukebox here at Kentucky in the Xfinity Series, trying to win another one tonight, Rick.
And you mentioned Brexton, his young son. He'll have to check his schedule. We saw the fire from underneath that car and the wheel well. It was also rubber burning on the track after that burnout. And when you call a guy out for burning rubber, he was literally doing that from his burnout. Kelly.
Well, one guy who was certainly on fire there at the end of the race, Ryan Blaney, made up 19 spots. He needed 20. I know you're disappointed not to be in victory lane, but how much fun did you have working your way back up through the field?
I didn't really have a lot of fun. It was nice to have a good race car and we could pick our way through there. We got it really good at the end, but we were good all day. I thought we were the best car all day, personally, and before that last caution, I thought we were about to get by the 20 and be able to set sail, and the caution come out and we were debating whether to pit or not, and it's easy to look back on it now and say we should have stayed out and see what happened, but I thought the right call was to pit, and we just had a violation, and that stinks, but it almost stings worse running up through there and finishing second than if we would have just finished 10th or something. But I can't thank Brian Wilson and the Snap-on team enough for letting me drive it and working on it all weekend to get it so fast there at the end, and really all weekend. So definitely not where we want to be, but hopefully we'll learn some stuff for tonight's race. It's going to be fun doing a doubleheader, and you know, thanks for the fans for sticking around for a doubleheader day. But disappointing, but I think you got to look at the positives and know we had a really fast car, and that's something to build off of.
All right, thank you, Ryan. He's got 400 more miles to go tonight. Rick?
Yeah, he said he was disappointed. We saw him when he climbed out of the car. He takes his gloves off. He sees the camera looking at him. He's saying, doggone it, we lost this one. Marty.
Chat with Kevin Harvick, who winds up finishing 4th. And boy, you were on the front row for that final restart. How tough, though, restarting on the outside, Kevin?
Well, for some people it was okay. For us, we were just a little too free to really hold the throttle down. On the bottom, I could hold it wide open, and on the top, I was just kind of chasing the car. So just got to thank Hunt Brothers and Fields, everybody from Textron Ford, everybody at Stewart Haas for letting me be a part of this program and putting this program together. So every time we've run it, we've been in the top 5, and just got to keep building on it. You know, I think the first year is definitely a building block, and they're doing really good.
I know you wanted to get a win, though. It's birthday weekend at the Harvick House, right?
It is, yeah. You know, Dad's had a tough time being really happy about being here because Mom's birthday and Keelan's 5-year-old birthday. So that's the not so fun part about what we do. But all in all, we'll have a good birthday party tomorrow and have fun with it.
Good part is we'll get the cup race over this evening and have a big old birthday party tomorrow, Rick.
You saw smiles on Kevin Harvick's face there as he came home in fourth and talking about building the program for Stewart Haas. Dave?
That was a hard-fought 8th place for Justin Allgaier today. Can you tell me how hard?
Extremely hard. You know, our Hellman's Mayonnaise Chevy was good. You know, we felt like in practice yesterday we struggled for that short run speed, and it kind of showed up again today, but Jason Burdett and the boys in the 17 did a great job. Everybody at Junior Motorsports is working really hard, and you know, we just our mile and a half has been our weakness this year, and so we come out of here with a solid day, no scratches on the car per se, so that's always a good thing, and we can keep focusing on what we're doing. So hopefully everybody at home enjoyed watching. Hopefully they were on their Xfinity service watching, but you know, at the end of the day, these races are a lot of fun. Repaves are always hard, and we just did what we had to do today.
And sometimes solid is best for everybody.
And they're going to clean up the rubber that Kyle Busch put down there on the apron. His last Cup win was at Indy in July 2016. We'll see if he can go back-to-back here. Taking a look at Victory Lane, Kyle Busch, so familiar with Victory Lane, especially in the Xfinity Series. 88 times he has won now. Coming up at 3 o'clock is going to be the Verizon IndyCar Series qualifying from Iowa. Getting ready for the Iowa Corn 300 as we look at the Xfinity Series standings after 16 races now. And Elliott Sadler still with a comfortable lead over the cut line. Again, the cut line is at 12. 12 drivers will make it into the playoffs, and right now only 3 of those drivers with wins.
Yeah, and when you look at that, there's so many young drivers in this series. They put on a heck of a battle while we focused on Kyle Busch towards the front, racing for the win. Back there from 5th to 10th, you had Hemrick, Custer, Poole, Tiff, Byron, all of these young drivers battling for these playoff spots.
And let's go back trackside to Dave.
Guys, very close for Eric there at the end, but all day you seemed a little bit unhappy with that race car. What were you missing?
We could never find the balance, and I think we just never having practice in the day, didn't really know what we wanted. Never really found the balance in practice yesterday, even when the track was cooler, so just kind of struggled around with that all day. When we got out in clean air, we could aero block and keep the lead, but never could really drive up and pass anybody, so just not quite enough. Get the Reese's Camry to Victory Lane. Just didn't have left sides there at the end, like 12 and the 18 had better lefts than us, so just not enough, and got to get a little bit better for next time.
And packed a little air on you there on the last lap, the 12?
Yeah, I mean, he was faster. You know, it is what it is. It's for second place. It's not too detrimental, so he was a lot faster. He ran me down from straightaway back in 3 laps, so he was fast all day. Probably had the best car, just didn't work out for him.
Led a lot of laps, but just the podium today for Eric Jones.
And you hear the disappointment. We've heard it from Eric Jones, we heard it from so many drivers, obviously, other than Kyle Busch. Kevin Harvick was not happy about it, but they did get track time today, and I think that's one of the things that they're going to be cherishing for the fact that they're going to be racing tonight in the Monster Energy Series. And what can they learn from what they saw today and what they experienced?
Yeah, one of the disappointed drivers we heard from was Ryan Blaney. He had such a fast car at the end, and he's thinking right now, if I hadn't had that penalty, I had the car to win this race. And don't blame me for being upset, but I just think that confuses everyone because no one thought tires were going to matter. We saw right there that tires did matter. I know it's hotter today than it's going to be tonight, but also the Cup cars drive worse than the Xfinity cars. So I think that is a game changer. I think you're going to see people now forced to put tires on early in the race to prove that they're not going to be better.
Well, I think that is the biggest question mark. We've talked about the surface, the repave, the tire drag, and it's been the conversation all weekend long. The track worked on the surface a little bit earlier this morning before this race. We saw really two grooves to 1 and 2, in my opinion. That second groove did come in. 3 and 4 is still a little bit narrow, but good cars can come through the pack. Ryan Blaney proved it. He went from last to second, and you even heard Kyle Busch a little surprised tires meant that much. So I think crew chiefs are taking notes, drivers are taking notes. I think that is going to be a huge question mark for tonight's Monster Energy race.
Joe Gibbs Racing needing a win. We just saw Kyle Busch be able to go out and get a win in the Xfinity Series. Can they do it in the Cup Series?
Oh, I think it's coming. I think we've seen this increase in speed over the last 6-8 weeks, especially with the 18 car of Kyle Busch. So it wouldn't surprise me a bit to see them win tonight, or one of the other Gibbs cars as well.
Or maybe Matt Kenseth. He's been a storyline saying that he didn't have a ride back at Gibbs. Maybe tonight he gets back in the news with a win.
Matt Kenseth, one of those Joe Gibbs Racing drivers, still trying to lock into the playoffs. Well, NASCAR America pre-race at 6 o'clock. Countdown to green, and Monster Energy Cup Series Racing telecast presented by Toyota. That comes at 7:30. Coming up next on NBCSN, it's Verizon IndyCar Series qualifying from Iowa. That's right now.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our fans for your support, and we hope you enjoy today's broadcast.